Okay, welcome back to the regular council meeting. The date is Tuesday, October the 7th, 2025. The time is 7:01. With that, I'll call the meeting to order. And we'll move right to the adoption of the agenda, as there is nothing to report out of the closed portion of the meeting. So the adoption of the agenda, is there any amendments? And I know Mr. McLaughlin, or Councilor McLaughlin, we'll go to you first.
Thank you very much. I believe since we've got folks in the gallery, might I suggest that we do this in kind of two parts, Mayor Barry, that we, in a good faith piece, adopt the agenda to move the public participation first, and then go to any changes and amendments.
Just before we get going, we have Ralph Hildebrand, Lidstone lawyer, online, and Mr. Blackwell's brought it to my attention that we may want to go to him before we go to public participation, just to cut down the fees for the village. If that was okay, we could drop him in, then go right to public participation.
That would work with me.
Okay.
Sorry, what subject, what matches that?
That is 10.1.2, and that's a building bylaw, and that's Ralph Hildebrand.
Sorry, if I could, you need to, somebody has to move and second that, then you have to vote on.
We'll vote on that before we add any other.
Yeah, and you got, so before you have an agenda to move forward on, you have to do all your amendments first. Once you have your agenda set, then you can proceed with it. So this first item is to reorder that number on the agenda, 10.3.1, and move it to
10.1.2.
2, okay, do we have a mover on that?
So we had a different number.
It's 10.1.2.
Moves to where?
To move it to item number 5.
And public partition becomes number 6.
5B or 6.
5B.
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll put the balance of the adoption of the agenda third.
Yes.
Sorry, is the other changes?
We'll do the other
the other
changes.
changes.
Mr. Blackwell asked us to vote on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we have a mover on that first?
Sorry.
Okay, Councilor McLaughlin, second.
Sorry,
Councilor Broughton. Councilor Abbott.
question, I'm not following. I think the CEO is telling us we have to do the whole agenda before we can start.
yes.
So the corporate office is telling us we can't do this, and everyone is running ahead.
Yes, you need to have an adopted agenda before you can start doing the business of the agenda. Right now, you just,
Thank you, Councillor Abbott.
Okay, do we have a mover to adopt the agenda?
sorry.
I have many amendments, which I think Mr. Blackwell is
This is what I'm
suggesting. We're gonna
trying to-
do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's been a mover and a seconder to renumber, move item, whatever that item.
Okay.
10.1.2 to,
All right, so we'll go to the next item.
to number 5. Now you need to call a vote on that.
That's what we were about to do.
So we're doing them individually.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor of that, moving the first item?
Can I
So
speak to it?
Yes.
Yeah, you
Can I
can,
speak to
yeah, Councilor Abbott, speak to it, and we'll go around the table quickly, and then we'll
Okay,
call the question.
we have a full agenda, and I was hoping that, I did not realize we had someone attending to present this. I really think this is a key of the whole discussion. Unfortunately, Mr. Hildebrand's already been on the line, but I would prefer if we pick another day for him to come back, where you can spend some time and go through this. I think this is a meaty piece of bylaw.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell.
What I can tell you is this is a technical document. I can't imagine, I've never known a council ever to weigh in on a subdivision servicing bylaw and the engineering standards, nor have I known a council to weigh in on the building code and the provisions that are reflected in the building bylaw. But if council feels so inclined, you can do so. My recommendation is to hear Mr. Hildebrand now. You can choose to make a decision based on that or not.
Okay, now any other speakers to this? No, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed, motion carries.
Mr. Barry, I would only say that Mr. Hildebrand's appearance is a bit of a surprise,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't like surprises.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell, would you like to respond to that? Okay, thank you enough. Okay, any other amendments to the agenda? We have, go ahead, Councilor Abbott.
Do you mind? I think mine's really quick and simple. Item 10.3.1. I'd like to move that up to item 9.7, we're both on the same subject matter. Just to remind you, 10.3.1 is something I brought on table at the last meeting and then got told afterwards I didn't get a resolution, so it wasn't on the table. And it relates to the discussion on 10, on the RCS.
Okay, sorry, where would you like that moved to?
So item 9.6 went into the, yeah.
9.6.
9.6.
9.7.
Yeah, 9.7.
So moved.
All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, any other amendments? Councilor McLaughlin?
Thank you very much, Mr. Barry. I think back to how we started this was that the public participation should move forward. So if that could come as quickly as possible, which I understand is after our speaker appears. Actually, it doesn't matter. It's gonna happen anyhow. Back to the changes that I progressed. I would suggest that the following items are deleted. Number 9.9, Beach Park Financials Report. It was substantially covered on the 16th. It's been mostly updated, and I thank staff for that. So I'll put that forward.
Okay, comments? Yeah, Councilor Brown?
Go ahead. No,
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Next one, unfortunately, it's 10.1.2, which is where the speaker is coming. This is the building bylaw. There's a lot of discussion here, regardless of what Mr. Blackwell has to say. And I'd like to do that in the committee of the whole. And I'd like to see that deleted and brought forward in the next committee of the whole.
Okay, mover,
Me.
second,
I'll second.
Councilor Abbott. Okay, Councilor Brown?
I'd like to hear what our lawyer has to say about this matter, and I think we can then decide whether we defer it or whatever, but I think we need to leave it on the agenda, hear our lawyer's recommendations or input, and then move on.
We are getting that.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, so you're suggesting hear from the lawyer, but remove this? I think I think we might be talking the same thing. Mr. Blackwell, you had suggested hear the lawyer.
He's
and
on the
then
line.
table it.
He's about to be on the line, as I understand it.
Yeah, Mr. Blackwell.
So if you remove this item from the agenda, then there's nothing for Mr. Hildebrand to speak to. So you need it on the agenda, excuse me, for him to be able to.
Okay, and then we can table afterwards.
We
Would
can
you like
decide
to
what we're
withdraw
gonna do
that?
with it from there.
No, I don't. I prefer it stayed. This is surprised that Mr. Hildebrand's here.
Okay,
And so it amends that item is deleted.
okay, any other comments? Councilor Brown?
No, I think we need to stop delaying issues, and I think we need to move forward with this one, so I would support leaving it on the agenda, referring it after Mr. Hildebrand has spoken.
Okay, I would agree. Mr. Hildebrand's here. We've already paid for his visit. I would say we listen to him and then we table it if we decide not to move forward, but I'll call the question. All in favor of eliminating this item? Okay, opposed to eliminating it? Okay, it's defeated, so that will stay, Mr.
Thank you.
Hildebrand. Any other changes?
To continue on, item 10.1.6, the detailed budget. This is clearly a committee of the whole discussion, not for the regular council meeting where nobody's seen, talked, or done anything about it.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
So it's to the committee of the whole.
To the committee of the whole.
Okay.
Okay, any other items?
Yes, thank you very much.
Councilor Conley?
Just to not forget about the two. that were on the
We'll
table.
come back to you, that's fine. I think that the next pieces are It's a sequence of this, which is 10.3.5 Lions Bay Beach Park Revitalization Project Update, delete.
10.3.5 is Botanic Creek.
10.3.4.
Lions Bay Beach Park
It's
Revitalization.
10.3.4.
Okay, that's, yeah,
You might be looking at
10.3.4.
the old agenda,
Okay,
we had a revised one.
Sorry, there's two agendas floating around. Is that the agenda
Let me read the title.
that I have, which I believe is the updated
It's Lions
one?
Bay
is
Revitalization.
Let me read the title, Lions Bay Beach Park Revitalization Project Update.
Okay, that's 10.3.4, and your motion is,
Delete.
okay, we have a second. Seconded by Councillor Cunliffe, discussion. Councillor Broughton,
I think it would, that this would be, a minute or so, and I think to keep deferring it is unnecessary. This has been requested on the agenda. Now, I believe this is the fourth meeting in a row, and Councillor McLaughlin has removed it each time, so I just think it's due its minute or two.
okay,
There's a couple of simple matters to
I
be
just make
explained.
a comment
Councillor
that
Cunliffe,
I believe that Eva Phillips, the chair of the Lions Bay Arts Council, spoke to this last meeting and said that when there is an update, that the committee or she would bring that to us. I would rather wait until we actually have a little traction in the beach park and then maybe have a more wholesome discussion on the revitalization project and the progress in its entirety as opposed to piecemealing particular aspects of it.
okay, Councillor Broughton, last time speaking.
Yeah, in absence of the minutes of the previous meeting, that was the reason why that was on there. I think that Counselor has just given a good summary of the issue here, so I would be prepared to accept that we're being removed at this point.
Okay, we won't call the question, it's removed. Mr. Blackwell, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, next item for amendment, Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you very much. 10.3.6, which is actually the Botanic Creek debris flow update. I'm sorry if I've got an old system that doesn't keep me up to the minute with council.
That's 10.3.5, Botanic Creek.
Thank you.
Okay,
Delete.
we have a second.
One second.
Second by Councillor Abbott, discussion. Councillor
Yes.
Broughton,
I've requested that the Botanic Creek debris flow be updated at each meeting. I think it's of serious concern to all residents. There is a safety issue, which I believe we should be discussing. I believe that there's some follow-up that we should be doing with the ministry, the MCR ministry, and would wish to speak to that, but council has now removed this item, so I believe will be the fourth meeting in a row. So I would suggest that it remain on the agenda.
okay, Councillor Abbott.
To remind council that the recovery manager spoke to us in closed meeting. I think the takeaway from that was when he has completed his report and we have something to report out, that would be the time to have an open meeting discussion. And I don't think we should preempt that. So I think we should take it off the agenda until the recovery manager is ready to release his report.
Okay.
Nothing else to discuss.
Councillor Broughton,
I believe the village is owed, and would be respectful to update the village on an ongoing basis as to what is going on. At some points, there's not a lot happening, but I think the fact that it is front of mind, and I think it's respectful to just state that the recovery manager is active and pursue it from there. As I said, I think these items would have been faster to have been left on the agenda than to discuss whether or not they're being left on the agenda.
okay, I tend to agree. I think this should be on every meeting. I walked down there after this heavy rainfall
Please,
And, I just think that,
Mr.
this
Berry,
is something that.
You mean-
Mr. Berry, the CAO is asking to stop talking.
Yeah, Mr. Blackwell.
I would suggest that council cease talking about this issue and.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
the advice.
Okay, I'll reiterate, I believe it should be on every meeting. Okay, all in favor of removing it, sorry,
Yes,
opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Next item,
Next item.
which is 10 on my, if I got it right, 10.3.6, which is Truth and Reconciliation Event, Squamish, September 30th, 2025. That'd be a delete. This is something the community should hear about. It should go to the watershed or some other media, not to council.
Okay, do you have a second? Yeah, Councillor Abbott, discussion. Councillor Broughton.
First Nations is one of my portfolios, and it would be appropriate for me to report out items to do with that. I was not seeking to speak to that motion. It is on the agenda. There is it refers to page 44, where there's a single page report. And so all I'm asking for is a receipt at that point. It's for information. It's not for discussion. It's a simple provision of information.
Okay.
It can be
Councillor Abbott.
removed
If
if
we-
the council so wishes.
if we,
I would not
sorry.
support it being removed.
if we're not speaking to it, it's just received for information, that's fine. I'm happy to withdraw my second.
Okay, I agree. I believe Councillor Broughton has put a lot of work into this, that we should at least receive that for information, so I would be opposed to this. All in favor of removing this from the agenda?
We're just gonna receive it, we're not gonna discuss it.
I didn't get a second.
Mr. Abbott,
Abbott was the second.
Sorry.
Mr.
Councillor
Abbott did.
McLaughlin
Thank
moved.
you.
Okay, all in favor of removing this? Okay, opposed? Okay, the motion is carried, unfortunately.
I'm sorry.
sorry, no,
I think
no,
we
it was not
confused the
carried.
motion. I
it
believe
was not
we were-
carried.
Oh, Mr. McLaughlin, or sorry, Mr. Blackwell, if
Was to.
councillors don't put their hands up.
Councillor Abbott removed his second.
He removed his second.
And we were going to take it as received when it comes to the agenda.
That's my
Who's on
understanding.
first?
Okay.
So to
Let's do it again.
recap,
Okay, Mr. Blackwell, Councillor Abbott removed his second, does that qualify?
I'm sorry, I could not, it's ping pong. I couldn't keep up with it.
Okay, let's do it
We had
again.
a move by Councillor McLaughlin, seconded by Councillor Abbott. We had discussion, and then Councillor Abbott said,
Councillor Berry, I'm ready to do this again. I'll remove the motion.
okay, thank you.
Can I have this? That's fine.
You removed the motion.
Yeah.
Good,
Good enough.
thank you.
Okay,
Next
any
piece.
other items?
Oh, yes. Next item, which is 10.3.7, Senior Circle Program, that should be deleted as well.
Okay, do we have a second? Second to that item?
I'm wondering if we have a couple members here tonight that could speak to that prior to the adoption, or,
They will be a public
Okay, that'll have to
participation.
come after.
and so we can remove it
participation.
from the agenda.
Okay, do we have a second for that? Second by Councillor Cunliffe, all in favor of removing it?
Yeah.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carried.
Next item, which is 10.3.8, which is staffing update. That should be removed.
Okay, do we have a second?
I accept, yeah, I'll remove that.
And
Okay, all in favor of removing, we have a second, Councillor Broughton, all in favor of removing?
Yeah.
And
Okay,
so
opposed,
for
motion carried.
clarity, Mayor Barry, those are all of mine,
Yes,
and I'll be quiet.
And sorry, I just wanted to bring to attention, there was a on table by Councillor Bowden and by Councillor Abbott. I don't believe in that.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, thank you for that.
okay, we've got Aaron Moore, 10.3.4, and we have Councillor Abbott, item 14. Okay, all in favor of the amendments to the agenda?
The addition to this item,
With the additions.
Correct.
Sorry,
addition to this item.
addition, yeah,
I have,
yeah, Mr. Blackwell.
Guys, holy smokes.
We're moving
Have
fast
you been
here.
drinking Red Bull today? You need to do these on table items one at a time
Okay,
Okay,
and
Okay.
specify where you want them to go in the agenda. And I just want to bring it to your attention again, Mr. Burr has made a request to move his item, which is 10.1.9, to earlier in the
Okay.
agenda if council is so minded.
All right, we're gonna vote on the Aaron Moore, that's 10.3.4. All in favor, or do we have a motion? Motion
So moved.
by Councilor Broughton, second. Councilor Cunliffe, all in favor?
Yes,
Opposed? Motion carries.
So to be
Okay.
clear, you want to add that to 10.3 on the
That's
agenda?
correct.
10.3.
Okay,
Okay, I'll put
next
mine,
item was 14.
put that forward under 10.3 as well.
Mr. Blackwell has suggested 14.
Either way.
So you can make 10, do you want
No,
10?
10.3, so that's the,
Okay.
where we going with that, you know? Will make most difference.
Okay, moved by Councilor Abbott, second. Councilor Cunliffe, all in favor?
Yes,
Okay, motion, opposed? Motion carried.
And then 10.1.9.
For
And then
clarity,
we have
clarity, what's the-
10.1.9,
what's the
which
number?
is Mr.
sorry.
3.5.
Deputy Corporate Officer, what's the number for that?
10, I believe
I've got it, it's 10.3, 10.4, and we've got 10.3.5.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and I believe the last item is Carl Burr's suggestion on the roadway topping, and that is 10.1.9. We'd like to move that right after Ralph Hildebrand.
Well, move it to 9 point, after 9.2.
9.2 would be good.
Would be my suggestion.
9 point,
So you need.
I think we want public participation.
I'll move it.
okay. Moved, seconded, Councilor Broughton, all in favor?
So,
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, motion to adopt the agenda.
One more item?
Everybody's a little reluctant to their hand up, but
No, on me. Okay, I'd just like to add an announcement of thanks to the Oktoberfest organizers. And also just a mention of the House Sound Community Forum, which took place on Friday. No discussion, but simply get them into the agenda.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll add that,
how are you gonna put it in the agenda if there's no discussion on no paper?
10.4.6.
Creatively.
Yeah, council.
through the chair.
Yeah.
I also attended the House and Community Forum was Friday. I intended to bring a report to the next meeting. I don't think
That's
we
fine, we'll bring it to the next meeting.
We should bring them to the next meeting.
Yeah.
You can bring reports. It's more valuable than us talking to council.
Exactly.
That's good. All right, do we have a mover to accept the agenda as amended?
Yes.
Councilor Abbott moves, second, Councilor Cunliffe, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, motion carried.
I'm gonna repeat that for Crystal, which was using.
I got it.
You got it?
Thank you.
Mayor Barry, because of the perceived confusion with the agenda, might I ask that the deputy corporate secretary, as we move through these things, leads the number and the topic. So that we're-
I would be happy with that. We'll test you.
Hey,
I'll help her out if needed. I've got some
thank you. I
notes
know
here as
both of
well.
both of your notes are meticulous, mine less so.
Yeah. Okay, with that, we'll move right to Mr. Hildebrand, Lidstone, and the building bylaw, 10.1.2 moved up. Mr. Hildebrand,
Would you like me to introduce it?
yes.
Thank you. So the reason this work has been done is that this is one of the bylaws that has been determined to be inadequate with regard to providing the authorities and so forth that the municipality needs to discharge building bylaw, the building bylaw function. So this was brought forward because of that in Mr. Deal's report. It's also been brought forward because staff has been struggling with how to manage the issuance of building permits and the inherent geotechnical considerations that associated with building in steep slopes. So what staff has been doing has sort of worked, but it's not as elegant a solution as it needs to be. So for reasons of modernizing the bylaw pursuant to what's already been advised to council and to address current issues, Mr. Hildebrand has worked with staff to develop a Main and Lions Bay solution for this new building bylaw, designed to ensure that how we do business is properly reflected by bylaw. So Mr. Hildebrand is here. Thank you, Mr. Hildebrand, for showing up tonight, making yourself available. He will walk you through sort of a high-level overview of why and where and how and so forth. Thank you.
All right, welcome, Mr. Hildebrand.
Thank you. I'm going to try to share a screen here because I have a bit of a presentation. And let's see if that works. I'm sending a request to share to see if they can permit me to share. It's okay if it's not. I just thought it might make it easier for you.
It was, you were given permission.
Usually works pretty well.
Is it there?
Is it behind one of those?
There we go.
There it is.
Okay, so I'm just going to use, well, I guess I can go into presenter view. Let's see, does that still work?
Minimize, okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Excellent. So just a bit of background, your previous bylaw was adopted in December 1994. It has been updated from time to time, but it needed either a real rough kind of rejigging or a new one, and it's usually easier to start fresh. And so that's what we did. I was presented with a number of concerns that your managers already addressed in part. One is the liability issues regarding building approvals, liability issues regarding slopes and retaining walls, ensuring construction aligned with geotech and other reports, and liability arising from registered professionals. So the bylaw addresses that. Just so you know, a template was used. MIA had requested Don Lidstone to prepare a couple of template building bylaws a little while ago. There were two templates that were created, one for larger municipalities, one for villages and towns. And I obviously used the second one more for Lions Bay, but there was a lot of discussion and modification to ensure that it aligned with the interests and the circumstances of Lions Bay. So this is, as your city managers indicated, a made for Lions Bay. Just in terms of guarantees, of course, we can't guarantee any particular outcome if the bylaw is challenged or if there's a claim made pursuant to the bylaw. But this bylaw does all it can to reduce liability and to ensure authority to do the things that need to be done, like requiring professional reports and so on and so forth. And you should know I've been to court a fair number of times litigating building code, building bylaw matters. And if this bylaw is adopted, I would have no problem going to court and trying to enforce it. That's an endorsement from a litigator. And now I'll put back on my solicitor hat. I've only been litigating for about 35 years, so limited experience. But part of the problem in terms of litigation starts with the Kamloops and Nelson case, which you may or may not be familiar with. It's a 1984 decision from the Supreme Court of Canada. And basically what happened in that case was the municipality did not complete inspections, and the Supreme Court held that the municipality had adopted a policy decision to regulate construction, and that the bylaw created a duty on the building inspector to inspect and enforce the building standards. And of course, what happened is that this thing fell through the cracks as a result of maybe you're not as old as I am, but back in the 70s and 80s, there were a lot of local government strikes. And so during a strike, this building was lost, inspections not done, and there was a problem, built on a slope. And one of the things the courts have never recognized is the fact that in terms of building inspections, you can't inspect everything. Inspecting everything would be going out and measuring the distances between nails, nailing a beam together and so on and so forth. My experience with building inspectors is if you take a standard single family home, if you inspected every building code issue, there would be quite literally a million things to inspect. So this bylaw tries to make sure that we have and I don't know why, has other stuff shown up on screen there? Very good.
Yeah.
Sorry. So if we go to the bylaw, and I don't know, do you have a copy in front of you?
You do.
You do? I'm going to refer to sections. You can follow along if you want. But basically, I will refer to sections. I have sent a copy of this PowerPoint to your staff, and they can provide you with copies if you want to look up the sections. But in terms of liability, we start with part 2, which sets out the purposes. And what it basically does, particularly in section 2.4, is limit the purposes to ensure that this bylaw is not to be interpreted to mean that there is compliance with all the building bylaw or building code requirements and so on and so forth. And then if we go to section 5.2, again, the permit conditions are limited in terms of what the purpose is. And as a result, it is not to be taken by owners or people who subsequently purchase the property as being some sort of guarantee that this building complies in all respects. Section 6.1 specifically says that what is being granted by the bylaw to the building official, which is the building inspector, is powers, not duties. And this is to address that problem with the Supreme Court of Canada decision. And in part 6, when we talk about powers you grant certain powers to the building official, there's a use of the word may rather than must to ensure that there's no obligation or duty created to do any sorts of inspections or to do any oversight, et cetera, by the building official. Rather, it's all in the may language. The owner has significant responsibilities. And so under part 7, and that should be owner's obligations, it sets out the obligations of the owner. In particular, 7.3 states that it's the owner's obligation to comply with the building bylaw and the building code. And in order to sort of drive that point home, Appendix A is an undertaking that every owner will have to sign as part of getting a building permit. So when they submit an application, they have to sign this undertaking. The undertaking basically says, I know that I am responsible, and I know that the city is not responsible or the village is not responsible. I will not be holding them liable for any failure to comply with the building bylaw or the building code. And so this effectively addresses the question that would otherwise possibly arise. And that is that an owner says, oh, I didn't read the building bylaw. I didn't realize that I had all these obligations and that I couldn't rely on the city. Here, they sign this undertaking, their signatures on record, and it shows that they were advised of the requirements of the bylaw. And aligned with that is section 7.4, which says basically that inspections don't relieve the owner or registered professional from complying with the obligations of the bylaw. And one of the issues is that, if the building inspector does an inspection, does that mean that the registered professional, who might also be required to do an inspection, or the owner is no longer liable because by doing the inspection, you take on the obligations? Inspections are deemed to be spot inspections. They're not thorough inspections, and the bylaw sets that out. So that's another way of limiting the obligations. And sorry, I didn't click forward. The owner may have a contractor who is building for them, and Part 8 deals with the contractor's obligations, and basically they're required to ensure compliance with the building code and the building bylaw. And Section 8.3 says that the contractor and the owner are jointly and severally liable. This, of course, isn't a contract, but it's setting out the terms and conditions. Basically, it's reflecting council's policy with regards to liability. And Section 10.6 is also indicating that if the building inspector comes through and then subsequent comes through and sees something that needs to be changed that was previously approved, or alternatively approves plans or reviews plans and approves them to move forward to construction, that doesn't prevent subsequent changes or correction if the building official subsequently becomes aware of a need for that sort of thing. The registered professionals have the similarly strict requirements that set out in Part 9. And one of those requirements in 9.3 sub H is that the professional must assure that the building can be safely used. And this goes to that issue of slope stability and so on and so forth. The building professional, the registered professional, must provide that assurance in order for the permit to be issued. The building official can require evidence of expertise. So, sometimes, and this isn't unfortunately an infrequent occurrence, you have a registered professional who submits letters that are basically outside their bailiwick as far as their expertise. Everybody knows it, but nobody can do anything about it. This section provides the ability to say, no, if we have doubts about your expertise, you have to provide us with the necessary evidence. And then, as you may or may not know, letters of assurance are issued by building professionals as registered professionals as part of their obligations. And 9.5 basically says the fact that we have taken these in and maybe review them doesn't mean that we're not A, relying on them, or B, that we are now taking on the obligations to ensure that they and what they refer to is correct. So acceptance is not equal to review, assurance of safe use, or that the building, if constructed, does not pose a hazard to others. And when you have a registered professional who's undertaken the inspection process, there's no obligation to inspect. But of course, from time to time, a building inspector will come on site. And this section 10.32 says that we continue to rely on the professionals' letters of assurance and inspections, even if an inspection is done by a building official. So this is a way of knocking that argument out of the park. And the same with 10.53, that we rely on the professional when issuing our final report. And that means that that final report doesn't somehow eliminate all of that reliance and suddenly take on the burden of the liability if things are not quite copacetic. In terms of the building inspection consequences, 10.30 sets out the inspections that are required, but that section of the bylaw basically says that you're only required to inspect if you're called to inspect. So there's no positive duty to inspect. This reminds me of a case I had in the city of Surrey where a person built a house and didn't call for any inspections. And then I went to court to get an order to have the whole house demolished. And as you could imagine, the court wasn't very fond of my argument. But basically, I showed that the roof was improperly installed, i.e. the trusses were backwards and wrong way round and didn't align with the supporting walls. The supporting walls were sitting on open spaces because the foundation was curved and not all the walls were to code. And of course, the foundation was built with all sorts of weaves and wobbles in it that were quite evident from the photographs I submitted. So basically nothing could be saved, and we got an order to have the building demolished. The owner of the house had given money to their brother-in-law to build, and then were suing us, saying that we were required to do inspections. And the provision in the bylaw that said that there was no positive duty to inspect was then relied on to say, no, you got to call us. We don't call you. We're not running around the municipality checking to see if inspections are due. You have to call at the time set out in the bylaw. So that's what 10.31 does. With respect to retaining walls and slopes, that's dealt with in part 11, in particular section 11.1, requires engineering of particular kinds of slopes and retaining walls. And basically, just so you know, a retaining wall is defined in the bylaw as a wall that is more than 1.2 feet high that is retaining soil. So it's not every retaining wall, but a retaining wall over that particular height. So that's a quick run through of the bylaw. I don't know if that's of assistance to you. I am going to stop the screen share. And if you have any questions or follow up, I'm happy to address that.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions from council?
I have questions, obviously, but what did we decide? Did we decide we were deal with these
We were
questions?
going
another
to
time?
refer it to a committee of the whole.
Yeah. I'll save them till then.
Blackwell.
Can I make a recommendation for the spirit of trying to move these things forward? That council consider at least granting this first reading and then referring it to the committee of the whole. That way at least it's moving forward and not stagnating.
Okay, motion.
Move that we accept move to first reading.
Okay, second for that. Second by Councilor Cunliffe. Any comments?
Question for the CAO, we've already approved the agenda. You didn't have that in that.
Mr. Boswell.
Thank you. I have one in the agenda.
It's been moved to the committee of the whole. It's been deleted.
Yeah, Mr.
I
Blackwell.
don't believe that's accurate, because if that were the case, we would have no matter for Mr. Hildebrand to speak to.
I think we had that discussion. We were going to remove it, but we had to leave it on to be able to allow.
I moved
Mr.
that we
Hildebrand.
left it on.
Okay,
And
so
then
with that in mind, you're suggesting the first reading, which,
My recommendation would be to at least introduce this, which is the purpose of the first reading, and forward it to a committee of the whole for further council discussion.
okay, moved by Councilor Brown, second by Councilor Cunliffe. Okay, discussion.
I think Councillor McLaughlin was technically correct, but anyway, because we already decided
No,
it
it's
was
not.
going to kill the whole, but whatever.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Okay, thank you, Mr. Hildebrand.
Thank you very much, and good luck as you move forward.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Okay, with that, we'll move to public participation. Anyone in the
Hooray.
gallery who'd like to speak? Okay, please take the podium.
Evening all, Marcus Reuter here, and it's a pleasure to be with you. I see three members of the previous council before me, a little bit like the old days. And you, of course, will remember the months of good work and robust public consultation that council and staff did just 3 years ago, in which over 500 residents took part, which led to Metro Vancouver's approval of our OCP amendment and rural designation outside the urban containment boundary, and our new regional context statement that supports Metro 2050. For the record, over 90% of residents agreed we are rural in how we live and in keeping with Metro's own definitions. Astonishingly, the RCS included in tonight's agenda package ignores the 2022 version and all the work put into it. Instead, it has reverted to the 2016 version and adds Metro 2050 references aimed at urban areas. It includes statements such as there are no rural lands in Lions Bay and referring to the village as urban. In other words, we've already updated our RCS to support Metro 2050, and it surely is a puzzle why, with all the other unfinished business in the village, this RCS is being proposed now. And this isn't just housekeeping. There are changes in it that will significantly impact us all, as resident Dennis Welsh, for example, recently discovered. As a reminder, a key goal of Metro 2050 is to create compact urban areas inside the UCB and not outside of it. You know, when I spoke at a Metro meeting in 2022, as a resident, I observed that we have been ill-served by poor decisions made in the past, and that our council of the day was seeking to right these historical wrongs. You did it right. You listened to the community and you were well supported. This RCS change, on the other hand, is unnecessary and will likely suck the wind out of the brief remainder of this council term. We already have an RCS that's in line with Metro 2050 and provincial legislation and is supported by residents. I urge you to set this item aside and direct staff to focus on the many unfinished items that remain undone and unrequited. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
My name is John Phillips, and I'm representing the Lions Bay Senior Circle with Carol Conlon, who's here with me tonight, and has been involved since the beginning in 2015. I want to talk briefly about volunteering and our role in it. I see that volunteering is on the agenda in two places tonight, and I think one got deleted. But still, volunteering seems to be what we're talking about some of the time, and it's so much part of Lions Bay that I thought I'd take the opportunity to put in my 2 minutes. First, I am pleased to see the council is planning to recognize volunteering and volunteer groups in the village. This is the 10th anniversary of the creation of the Lions Bay Senior Social Circle, using part of the money from the UBCM grant at that time. The village staff and council have continued to support the SSC in many ways through these 10 years. And we really appreciate that. The use of the hall, grants in some years, administrative support, and sort of moral support, just connections with council and staff. And these three members of the current council have actually participated in our primary program, which is Tai Chi. Jamie Cunliffe has been a participant since the beginning. And Michael Broughton has been a participant the last couple of years. And Ron McLaughlin was a participant for a session a few years ago. So, you know, I know that there's some understanding of Tai Chi at least, but LBSSC, you know, more generally. Louis Peterson chaired the LBSSC for 5 years until ill health forced him to resign. And I continued as acting chair and treasurer. Carol Conlon, Louis' wife, became secretary and a director, and she's of great value to me, continuing Louis' tradition and continually reminding me of our role and helping in many ways. That coincided with the onset of the COVID epidemic in 2020, which curtailed some of the activities that Louis had planned. The Tai Chi continued on Zoom for a while and then back in the hall. It's continued for the further 5 years and has remained popular among seniors and young adults. Part of Louis' vision was to be inclusive. We always mentioned that. So this was not just for seniors, it was for any adults in the village. We have 30 people enrolled currently, of whom 25 to 27 typically attend because of absences of one sort or another. That's probably the most we've had for a long time. People generally agree that Tai Chi provides many health benefits, including improvements in strength, flexibility, and balance, as well as social interactions. And I've become more and more aware of how important these things are with the stress of modern life these days. Those things become very important for anybody of any age, seniors and younger adults. And those, just to remind you, there's strength, physical strength, flexibility, very important as you get older, balance, equally important, and then social interaction. That's become critical. I make the tea for it, where it's my role is to make weight-loss tea in the morning and anything else other people might want. And this promotes the the class for about a half hour before we actually start. So I'm very happy with the way that's been going. I might say that my wife plays a significant role as well, both in the bookkeeping and in organizing the group. So we have more volunteers within the group. She has a team of people that can step in to do things.
John, thank you very much. That's wonderful to hear this. If you can just wrap it up, we're trying to hold it to 2 minutes. We're at about 3.5, but we're
Okay,
enjoying your feedback, so.
okay, that's
Thank
good. I'll just finish by saying that the core group of volunteers has assisted our programs in meaningful ways along the way, as I said. And I think we're continuing the long tradition of volunteering in Lions Bay that goes back to the earliest days before incorporation. And, you know, by talking about it, we promote the idea and keep it going forward. Thank you for the time.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you, John.
Council Brogan?
Thank you very much, John. The reason I put the item on the agenda was to celebrate the incredible success of the senior circle this year. The fact that there were, I thought there was 29, but wonderful to hear there's 30 people involved. Fantastic. And it is not just, there's quite a number of people there who would not describe themselves or anyone else would describe them as seniors. So thank you so much.
Right, that's right. It's a very inclusive program. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. Good stuff. Okay.
Great. Anyone else in the gallery like to speak? No, we'll go online. Crystal, anyone online?
No hands.
No, okay. With that, we'll move to item number 9, tree management policy for discussion. Mr. Blackwell, anything to add?
No, excuse me, this matter was brought before council earlier, I believe September 16th. Council endorsed this. As you will recall at that time, this tree management policy was established as best practice with regard to relying on a system of what's referred to as policy defense, which is policies around the various realms of municipal operations. So things like playground inspections. It's common for municipalities to have sidewalk inspection policies, et cetera, et cetera. So trees are of a significant risk in Lions Bay. There's a bylaw that sort of sets out how trees will be dealt with under varying circumstances, but there's no policy. And so this was meant to create a fairly general policy that would give the municipality a policy defense and provide some significant shielding from potential litigation. This has been passed, but council wanted this brought back.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Blackwell? Councilor Abbott?
I could go first. Questions are somewhat general, in my normal style. We have had a case with the short-term rentals where we advised that we should not have a policy and a bylaw. I thought we should have both. And we were advised to remove the policy. It seems to be where council is going taking this advice. I question myself, why do we have a policy and a bylaw in this case? Because you can defend your actions on a bylaw. You don't need to have a policy to defend them. You can have a bylaw defense as well, quite as easily. I also then went and reviewed as best I could the differences between the bylaw and the policy, and they are definitely contradictory terms. I believe, and I can point out some of those if we need to, but I believe we should cancel the policy as we've done in other cases, update the bylaw with council's involvement as to what they would like to see changed in the bylaw. And I think that's the far more prudent course of action. And that's what I'd like to see us do.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell?
Thank you.
Can I, sorry, point of order. Can I hear from my fellow council?
Yeah,
Can
we'll
we-
go around the table. Please raise your hands. Each council member has 2 opportunities to speak, maximum 5 minutes.
If we have a question for the CEO, we can ask them, but I'd rather hear from council first, if you don't mind.
Okay, Mr. Council Broughton?
This policy is around creating a policy defense and shielding the village. One of the items that's concerned to me is that we ensure that how do we know that we have an adequate amount of funds available to support this policy? And by that, I mean a credible amount of funds. So that if we have a policy that refers to a limited amount of funds to address the problem, and a court determines that was not adequate, it seems to me that we've frustrated or defeated the management policy. So my question is regarding how much is enough in our budget to support and maintain the credibility of this policy.
Mr. Blackwell, would you like to answer that?
Sure. So there's no set amount. The courts have apply the principles of fairness and reasonableness. So council, that's up to council to decide relative to competing priorities, what it chooses to set, so long as the reasons behind choosing the budget associated with tree removal are reasonable. For instance, if I'm making this up just to illustrate, if council has said, you know what, we love trees, we're not going to ever cut a tree down regardless of how dangerous it is, and we're going to provide zero budget for it, I think the court would see that as irresponsible. But if the budget is set based on a reasonable discussion, and the court's not going to determine what is reasonable, as long as the appearance is a reasonable discussion relative to other competing issues, that will suffice. The policy defense is something that's evolved over the years through BC Supreme Court, and now Supreme Court of Canada challenges, and it's gone from what it once was, which was a staff approved policy, then had to go to management approved policy. Now the new test is it has to be endorsed by council. So that is what this, and it's solely to do with operational requirements, public works related stuff. It doesn't apply to any other aspect.
Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Cunliffe?
A comment more than anything, and regardless whether it's policy or bylaw, if we need to have defensible position. My concern with policy, part of the reason I wanted to bring it back is that we're holding residents to a higher standard than we're holding ourselves as a community. So for example, during the songbird nesting season, which there is no cutting allowed, unless you get a biologist report as a resident, that is an additional cost that they're incurring. And we're not even holding ourselves to the same standards. So that's, that was one of my major concerns. It was raised to me by several residents in correspondence that they had provided to me. So I wanted to come back and have more of a discussion. And I don't think that that's right. I think we need to be setting the bar and the example as a community, and then therefore our residents have something to aspire to.
Okay, any other comments? Councillor McLaughlin?
Thank you very much, Mayor Berry. Not to repeat Councillor Cunliffe's points. I share her view on walking the talk and not just talking. So two different standards here. I'm focused on the description and the report on the legal considerations. And I'll read it for you. Without a policy, the village is exposed to greater liability as decisions may appear ad hoc or unstructured. Got a bylaw that looks pretty structured to me.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell, any comments?
It's not, the bylaw is inadequate, and it provides no thresholds around spending. There's zero policy defense provided for in the bylaw with regard to how much council is setting aside for the budget. You know,
There's none mentioned in that in this policy.
Mr. Blackwell?
no, but what it says in the policy is that if the decisions around tree maintenance, the tree maintenance will be based on resource capacity. So with regard to operations, and operations only, bylaws and policies go hand in glove with the new standard. I note that council had a concern also about the snow clearing and ice management policy. It could be that we're not doing a good job of conveying what MIABC is recommending to all municipalities. The MIABC are our insurers. This stuff is boilerplate. It's done across British Columbia. I've not known another municipality not have policies, operational policies in place to shield them against liability. This is a big hole for Lions Bay. So if I'm not conveying it clearly enough, my suggestion to council would be to direct me to invite MIABC to come give you a workshop on why policy defense is important and the implications for insurance, and in the worst case scenario, them choosing not to insure Lions Bay any further.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor McLaughlin,
Thank you.
follow
Very quick. So as a follow-up question, again, my concern and Councilor Cumlow's concern about walking the talk, about not cutting during the birding season. Is this a policy piece that we should change, or is it a bylaw piece that should be changed?
Blackwell.
Thank you. Through you, I would say that the bylaw should probably be re-examined and fine-tuned. There are issues with it. I don't think they're as glaring as, say, the zoning bylaw, but there's a room for improving that. The bylaw and the policy are related, obviously. Bylaw takes precedent, but this policy is supposed to be general enough to provide latitude. So it would be best if they could work in conjunction. But it'd be good to have, going into the winter season, it would be good to have something in place to.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Abbott.
Yeah, first I'd like to talk to a couple of things that came up there. This idea that we're going to set a budget and that's how we're going to control which trees are taken down. That simply doesn't wash for me. We frequently blow our budgets. No one's going to stop because of a budget. I understand the budget's been set as a policy defense if you don't cut a particular tree, but it's not a way to manage the staff's actions. Staff are going to take the actions that they choose to take. Those actions and what they're allowed to take is in the bylaw, and you can just as easily defend your actions by bylaw. And the contradictory parts between the two needs to be dealt with. The fact that this is described as standard boilerplate, every municipality does it. Lions Bay does things differently in many cases, and we will continue to do things differently. There's a strong element, and Ross, please stop smirking. There's a strong element of stewardship and environmental stewardship in this village that is way higher than in other places. People have put this stuff in place through the actions. There's been a lot of discussion and a lot of community input. So, and the bylaw perfectly provides for imminent danger, trees can be removed. And that is the protections we need, and that is the protection for residents. So I would like to see that this policy is removed, withdrawn, and or rescinded, I guess would be the correct word, and that we correct the policy as well, correct the bylaw, sorry, as well as the differences between the two.
Okay, we'll go to Mr. Blackwell and then we'll go to Councilor Broughton. Mr. Blackwell.
I was not smoking. Just to be clear, I'm shaking my head in disbelief because you, with due respect, are not the expert. I've been dealing with MIABC and these issues for decades. And I'm finding that every time I give this council advice to stay out of trouble, council argues against it. And I just wonder when council is going to heed the advice of the professionals and err on the side of precaution. You know, Lions Bay is not different. In the BC Supreme Court, Lions Bay gets no special pass. So I'm doing this to protect this community. At the end of the day, if council doesn't care about doing that and wants to run and gun and shoot from the hip on this stuff, that's council's decision. My job is to protect this community. And that's why these things come forward.
Okay, I'll provide my, oh, sorry. Councilor Broughton had his hand up and then I'll comment.
Okay,
Councilor Broughton.
take direction from, or take guidance from, MIABC. They are our insurance provider. I don't support the fact that Lions Bay is special in every way and means. The fact is that there are dangerous trees. Trees do fall on people. There have been multiple people killed in the Lower Mainland in the last 8 months, 9 months, as a result of dangerous trees. If we identify dangerous trees, it is responsible for us to address that. There have been, trees of concern in the village identified. There have been trees fall in the village, and fortunately, there's been no injuries. But not so in Comox a few months ago, and not so in multiple other jurisdictions. So I just think we need to be responsible. Safety is a major concern for all of our residents. And if MIABC, who is our insurer, requires us to do this or expects us to do this, I would suggest that that is what we do.
Okay, I tend to agree with Councillor Abbott's comments about we can't arbitrarily set a false budget to cap removal of trees that are dangerous and hazardous. I think we have legal opinions to the fact that the CAO is authorized to remove dangerous and hazardous trees to the lives of residents of Lions Bay. And so if we have knowledge of trees that are dangerous, should be removed, I'm fully supportive of our CAO taking that action. So I guess my question would be, how does this proposal that you've got, recommendation that you've got on the table, Mr. Blackwell, affect trees that have been designated as dangerous, hazardous, and threatening the lives of residents?
Well, the provisions around removal of dangerous trees are set out in the bylaw, but there's no upper limit. So the risk that creates is that anybody that phones in and says, I have a tree that I'm concerned about, we have the obligation then to follow up on, even if it costs us $1 million. And if we don't, and that tree 100 falls down, you can get sued. Depending on the nature of the damage, it can be significant. What this says is, this is the maximum we're agreeing to spend, this council, your council. This is what we're willing to provide, and it could change from year to year, 5,000, 10,000, 30,000, based on competing interests. This is what council is choosing to set as a resource to deal with this. So that if we go over that, if that gets spent, it means that we are not legally liable if there are other trees after that budget is spent that fall. We're not legally liable. If we don't have that, we are liable. So that does also not mean that no further trees can be cut. If the budget's been used and staff come back and say, look, there's no more budget, there's 3, 4, 10, whatever critical trees. If council's so minded to deal with that, it's going to cost this much money. That's entirely at the purview of this council. But by setting a budget amount means that after that, if anything further happens, we are protected.
So is this something sorry, follow-up question. So is this something that would protect the village and also satisfy the insurer of the village? This recommendation that you have forward? And then my second part of that question is, if we have knowledge of a tree or trees that have been deemed hazardous, and then we implement this policy, are you suggesting that we are protected from previous knowledge? Because that would seem like we're trying to obstruct the removal of hazardous trees after the fact. So two-part question. Do we need this? Is this important to us to protect the village and the residents? Second, previous hazardous dangerous trees to the lives of residents, do they need to be removed? Or is this policy that you're recommending take us off the hook and the CAO is no longer obligated to remove those trees.
So in response to your first question, this is absolutely what the municipality needs to manage the issue of trees without having a limitless budget in terms of liability. This says, we're not going to make every tree in Lions Bay our issue. What this policy says is, we're gonna make only those trees that fit within this budget our issue. So if anything comes to the attention of the municipality as a danger tree, let's say, beyond the budget that's spent, if all the budget's been used up and there's no budget left, if there's something else that happens in terms of information, there's no obligation to remove any other tree.
So the second part of the question was previous knowledge. Do you need to act on those dangerous trees? Or does this policy take you off that responsibility?
Only up to the budget, the budget that council has set. Only up to that amount. Anything beyond that, there's no legal obligation. For the municipality, because there's no budget left. Council gets to set that.
So if council, just for argument's sake, if council sets the budget at 5,000, that would mean that there could be multiple dangerous trees
Right.
and they don't get removed. And if we're aware of trees right now that are dangerous and have been designated as dangerous, we're no longer obligated, or you're no longer obligated to remove those trees.
No longer legally obligated to remove those trees within that budget window, within that budget period, once the budget's been used up. The corollary of that is, in theory, a person could make an argument that there's, I don't know, 100 trees in Lions Bay, or 200 trees, whatever the number is, that could qualify as unsafe for any reason. And there's no budget. Lions Bay cannot afford to go in and remove 100 trees in order to get rid of or manage or reduce liability. So how it does it instead of saying, okay, because we have no policy, we're gonna be on the hook for everything. Policy says, no, we're gonna be on the hook for only this much amount of money. And that amount of money is set by council at budget time. And then that's all we're legally obliged to do. Anything beyond that is at the leisure of council. Council can choose to add more budget or not add more budget, but whether it does or doesn't has no further effect on our liability. As long as that amount is set, that is set is reasonable.
Okay, so people that are residents that are threatened currently and have reported that prior to this are fall under this policy. Okay, any other questions? Councillor Abbott?
One further question. We've heard that statement 5 times, I think, tonight about budget. The point we need to all understand is we have arborist, tree consultants' reports on trees we believe they're dangerous. These reports of the trees we've taken down, none of these reports have said they're in imminent danger. All of these reports have said there's a moderate risk of branch or limb failure. All of them have recommendations for work to be done. Every one without exception. They all, the consultants' recommendation is do this, that, and the next thing. And without exception, we got to remove the tree. That's what happens every time. So we need to follow the reports we receive that we pay for. That's the first thing we need to do, and we don't do that. Secondly, I actually went with UBC and I actually asked one of the members in my ABC was having lunches with that policy defense, and you can write the same provisions into the bylaw. And if I was given bad advice, then maybe I was given bad advice. But then in that case, you have to make sure the bylaw and the policy say exactly the same thing. They currently do not.
Okay, any other comments? Councillor Broughton?
Well, I just want to point out that there's two issues here. I think the issue that we're dealing with is liability to the village. And I understand the policy defense and so on. So I think that's I support having the policy in place. At the same time, I think we need to acknowledge that we need to do the maximum that we can to ensure safety for the residents within the village. And so while we're protecting the village from a liability standpoint, we also need to be protecting the village from a safety standpoint. And so, I think we need to carefully follow the recommendations of the arborists to the greatest extent that we can.
Okay, in principle, I'm for the policy, but I can't support, previous knowledge of trees that are hazardous and dangerous to residents, and basically capping the budget. So I'm not sure whether I would be voting, for or against this. Should I be voting against the budget, cap it at X amount? With the knowledge that the tree removal is going to cost us more than that, or should I be opposed to this? Or should I make an amendment? What would your recommendation be?
Thanks for the question. So this is already approved by council.
Okay,
So this is being brought back because council has to discuss it further. So if council wanted to amend, delete the whole thing, it's up to council to do. But you'll have to pass a resolution to do that. The budget is separate to this. This is, don't worry about the budget in relation to this, as long as there's a budget and that the thought's gone into it, and council can stand behind the thought being reasonable relative to the risk and other competing resources, et cetera. That's all you need to do.
enough. Okay, one final comment.
I
You've
was-
commented 3 times now, so we'll finish up with Councillor Abbott.
Although my comments have been
Move on.
short, of time as well. Yes, I'd like to put forward a motion that this policy be rescinded until the tree bylaw and the policy can be aligned. And that's the motion I'd like to put forward.
Okay, second. Second by Councillor Cunliffe, discussion.
It's been enough.
Okay, I'll ask one more question, just to clarify this again. If we rescind this, this doesn't obstruct you from removing trees that you had prior knowledge to. And if I'm concerned about that, I should address that in the budget discussion. Is that what you're suggesting?
Not exactly, no. So if council chooses to rescind this, then you'll have no policy defense, and then you will be responsible to remove every tree that people report. So you could have 200 reports, and you have a duty of care to assess, bring an arborist in and assess each one of those, and if deemed appropriate.
Let's not get the case.
Sorry, let our CAO finish talking.
You then have a legal obligation to deal with those trees. So it doesn't, if you, let's pick a random number for argument's sake. So if council says, look, all we can pony up for tree maintenance is $50,000, and that's all, there's no more room in the budget to provide any more money. If we get another $500,000 of requests, you have to deal with them or face the liability. If any of those additional trees falls on a person or property, etc., I can only assume we would get sued. That's the logical conclusion. And whether the municipality does or doesn't, you have to, council has to be aware that is it's boilerplate stuff. It's as likely as not. That will be the result. So without this, there's no upper limit.
Yeah. All right, okay, I see the recommendation that was from an earlier meeting, so that's good. Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you very much, Mayor Barry. So, thank you, everybody, for the contribution. So, Mr. Blackwell, if I understand this correctly, tree policy is a doubling down to protect us via MIA. That's the point. Anything to do with budget, different discussion. To Councillor Abbott's point about there are some issues in the bylaw. Well, there are some issues in the bylaw, but that should be addressed separately. Am I correct on this?
Yeah, Mr. Blackwell.
100%.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got a motion on the table. All in favor? Rescinding this. Opposed? Okay, motion defeated.
Can I make a motion to have staff look at the bylaw and bring it into line and address those concerns that Councillor McLaughlin and I raised about holding residents to a higher bar than we're holding our own staff and community to?
If I may,
Blackwell.
Can I make a suggestion for council's consideration that you direct it to a council workshop to workshop this? So that we can tease out what you feel is working and what isn't working, and there can be bigger discussion around that. It'd be a lot easier than crafting something, bring it back, doesn't
Or a
fit.
committee of the whole, or
that's,
That's what I was
Mayor Barry,
McLaughlin.
that's where I was going, committee of the whole. I mean, I'm sure this strategy session is gonna be full of stuff, but this is kind of a work in progress. So a 5-minute discussion of likes, don't likes, and a committee of the whole will be fine. Thank you, Mayor Barry.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to item number 9.2. It's the action items
Sorry,
log.
are we gonna vote on that motion?
We did, it was defeated.
No, Jamie's second motion, which
Needs a seconder.
Oh,
Ron was second.
Fine.
Okay,
Thank
Ron, second. There wasn't a second. Ron seconds that. Okay, all in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Okay, 9.2 action log. We'll move right to Carlborough and the roadway, pathway, and the putting down a road cut. And we'll just take a,
10 minutes.
yeah, you know what, a 5-minute break for a moment. Sorry, Carl, to call you to the table. 5-minute recess, and we'll.
Okay. Pages is 423. 423.
Or at least on the printed version.
Okay, welcome back to the regular council meeting, October 7th, time is 8:27. And with that, we'll move to Mr. Burr and the action items log. Over to you, Mr. Burr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the report in question is on page 423 of the agenda. I thank you for your indulgence in moving it. I didn't mean to move it right to the very front. I thought more just the front staff report section, because it is a time critical issue. The time criticality is the supply of this material, which I'll pass around. This is RAP, recycled asphalt pavement. It comes from just north of Lions Bay on Highway 99. The idea is that you would see it's fairly benign ground up road base. The proposition is to use that exact material to surface the Magnesia access road after we ditch, swale, culvert, and grade it, in order for it to last perhaps as long as 15 years, which is as long as the Harvey access road has lasted when this same material was used on it. The time criticality of the thing is, if we don't say yes to Millicap, they'll take it away. This is, if we were to do this in 3-inch granite riprap, would be around $80,000 worth of raw material. Council has budgeted $40,000 for the project in 2025. Obviously, we would not be able to do more than about a third of the project, because the civil work alone is has come in at 40,000. With free aggregate, we can do the entire road from the Sunset Gate to the Magnesia intake. I would like to get council's endorsement of this approach. Why? Because you will recall when we used RAP on the Soundview Road, it was fresh ground. It gave off the petroleum smell for a good couple of months. It was not compacted and rolled, so it has abraded into the forest somewhat. This will be done entirely differently, properly. But there is some sort of public perception of putting asphalt into the forest. I mean, I would just point out that most paved roads are made of asphalt. They're also in the forest, but that's in the built-up area village. So I would like council to endorse the use of RAP for the project. The alternative is to use 3-inch granite riprap. Those of you who've walked up the Alberta intake road will know that lasts about a year before vehicle wheels push it out of the way, but before it breaks down into very fine dust and ankle rolling marbles. it really isn't suitable material for this kind of project, specifically because this is also the hiker access into the backcountry, specifically to Tunnel Bluffs and Mount Harvey, to the tune of 15,000 hikers a month plus in the summer months. It's difficult, and I walk the Alberta Intake Road daily, and it's actually quite difficult coming down. It is so slippery. I would rather not have 15,000 people finding the same experience. Happy to take questions. The rest of the details, including some pictures taken on Thursday, I think, or Friday. You may want to know just one more thing, sorry, through the chair. Why now? We need it to be raining so we can see where the runoff goes, in order to know which ditches, swales, and culverts to. There's one culvert I know that we need to do. The rest we think we may be able to do the swales. There's several ditches, mostly on the inside of the road they're gonna need to be cleared, but we need them to be running to be able to tell.
Okay, Councillor Broughton.
Through the chair, has this material already off-gassed to a certain extent because
Yes.
of the fact that it's,
If I can pass it back to you and you give it a smell, I checked this myself.
I believe you,
Yeah, there's no smell anymore.
it's no stop. Okay.
So it'll go down in the winter when it's cold. It will be compacted and rolled. It's not like a road.
It doesn't
It smells like,
it doesn't
smells a bit like dirt
Yeah.
on the road, yeah.
You're going to test this in your glass of water?
I don't necessarily. Yeah, I don't believe in it. That I wouldn't drink road, no. It will go down, it'll be compacted and rolled in the winter. It will set up over the course of the next 2 years. That's how it does. It sets up in the heat of summer. So it'll be somewhat loose, crunchy for a year or two. But I only need to point you at the Harvey Access Road, which is, this was put in 2011. It's still in very good shape. But we'd like to do the same. For the reasons stated in the report, it's really very bad. We went up there today, or I went, the guys go up, twice a day sometimes. It's really bad. It really messes up our vehicles. Because it washes out every winter. We're down to bedrock in many places now. We need to fix the drainage, surface the road, and have done with it. We need to do this properly.
I had a problem with the loggers lane because as you said earlier, it wasn't compacted and it seemed to be leaching out. And so I wasn't a big fan of that.
Me neither.
Now you're saying that this is going to be a different application, so you're gonna create the swales and the ditches, which will sort of minimize the water. But you're also rolling it. Is that the biggest difference from?
Compacting, yeah. So plate compactor and rolling with a roller, with a big roller, which will be rented. That is the main difference. So the research that I've been doing says that the leaching is an issue if it's this loose, because the water runs between it and does its best to leach out the materials. Rolled, it's like any road. We have them. It'll look like road after 2 years because it's not going out hot. It won't immediately set up, but the expected leaching, it's already leached most of what it was going to leach when it was fresh along the sea to sky alignment. So it's relatively more benign now, and because it is compacted, it's not going to leach as much as we saw on Soundview, I think you mean, which was not good.
Yeah. Would you go back and roll it in when the weather warms up? Because I've seen that done before. When they put this down, they usually do it in the hottest weather possible, and then they roll it.
Yeah. I would like that option. It's going to take a little bit of extra budget, maybe another 5,000. I'm also going to check with the contractor whether we can actually do the ditching now while it's raining and lay the material. It all depends on, if Millicap wants to take it away, we want them to leave it. There's 55 loads up there, 10-yard box loads, which is what we think we need. They're willing to give us a little bit more, but soon they'll be grinding far away enough that they're going to charge us to bring it. Right now, we have 55 loads, pretty much what we need up there for the taking. I'll just point out, we can just actually pick it up at the pit, drive up Soundview, take a little short corner around Sunset, and there. We don't have to truck it through the village. Granite riprap is, it's 3-inch material, it's terrible stuff. It, you know. it drops
Any
off the
other
road.
questions, comments for Carl?
Yeah, I've got a few. Fortunately, we didn't get a chance to discuss that at the IC. When we have a bit more fulsome discussion, I guess. Glad you mentioned the previous law. You were one of those residents that complained about it rather vociferously. The rubber and the other sort of microplastics that are in here is going to wash off the road and is going to end up in the ditches. There is still going to be an element of that. And it will filter through as well. It's not going to seal it the way it does as hard asphalt. It will filter through, and that stuff will be going down into ditches and ending up in the environment. There is an environmental risk here, and there's no doubt about it. I'm also a little puzzled on some of the numbers, because you said it's $48,000 to get 3-inch miners.
Yeah.
Yeah, $48,000.
Yeah.
But that would be delivered to the places.
Yeah. Well, dumped, yeah, and then it would have to be.
Yeah, but you take the box cars up the road and dump it close to where you need it.
Yeah.
Whereas now you still have to go pick it up and move it, so there is still another cost.
That's in the $40,000 grading cost.
Okay. So the difference is, how much is the difference in cost then?
Yeah, I feel like that.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of cost difference. It's a question of this material you use in the last longer versus the environmental impact.
Yeah, you know, we did 3-inch minus granite riprap on the Alberta road, and it's terrible. You do that when you have heavy vehicles going in wet conditions, it's so they don't sink into the mud. It's not supposed to make a permanent road. Granite riprap is not.
Okay, Cole, there's hundreds of thousands of kilometers of granite capped roads all over BC, in every forest, everywhere.
With road base, not with riprap.
With road base, yeah.
Yeah, road base is 3/4 minus for everybody's information. The problem is you have to replenish it here.
Yes, you have to keep topping up, and that's what's done on virtually every forestry service. Why not? Virtually every forestry service.
Okay, any direct questions for Carl?
I'm just trying to discuss them. I'm trying to get an understanding
Yeah.
on the actual costs versus the environmental impact. I believe the environmental impact outweighs the savings here, in my honest opinion. But okay, I don't have any other questions.
Okay, Councillor Broughton?
Yeah, I think on balance, if we're looking at greenhouse gas emissions of trucking, fixing, refixing. I mean, there's going to be an impact, and I would ideally I'd like that to not occur. But I think on balance, it seems to make the most sense in terms of if we put it down once, and then we're not trucking and fixing and dealing with it from there.
Thanks, if I can respond to that through the chair. So I agree. It's not an ideal situation. There is an environmental impact. I'm aware of that. All things considered, I think this is the best option we have.
The least worst.
The least worst, perhaps, is correct. I would also say, not this really Lions-based business. We are diverting this stuff from the landfill. We're also not using new bitumen and new aggregate to make new asphalt. Not that we put asphalt in the forest, but we are taking some asphalt and reusing it. So it's slightly might somewhat mitigate, and I don't deny the environmental impact. I don't know if I call it a hazard, but there's an effect.
How long would it take for the climate committee, or how much time do you have before you have to make this decision? I know you're saying it's urgent.
Weeks, not months.
Weeks. So that would give us enough time if we referred it to the climate action committee, and you've got some experts on that committee that can weigh in. I guess I'm asking that question at you, Councillor Allen.
We have people on that committee that will come in from an environmental point of view, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I would suggest they might, they would then make a recommendation to council. I don't know how supportive that recommendation would be. I don't know what council would do with that recommendation, because
I think we could speculate it would be a non-supportive recommendation.
yeah. So I mean, I recognize what I'm asking council to do here. It has been suggested this was an operational decision, but I didn't want to make it without the representatives of the community weighing in, that this is a community facing issue. I would like the community to endorse it, which didn't happen when we surfaced Sound View, as you recall. It just, that was actually the wrap coming off the Ocean View resurfacing project.
Just a question, you were saying that the ditches and the swales would be improved, or right now they're non-existent?
Well, they're there, but they really need help. The swales are filled in, the ditches are filled in. They haven't been cleared since they were put in, you know, in logging road days. So the $40,000 budget that council provided for this project will be more or less what the civil work will be. And that will be from the full length of the trailhead, the Sunset Boom, all the way up to the intake. And I was there today. It's really bad. There's one stretch that's quite nice, about 10 meters. The rest not so good.
This final point, is it also damaging the trucks?
Terribly, really bad.
So what is the environmental cost of fixing those trucks? I mean.
This is a balancing thing. I fully recognize.
I think I go back to my least worst
Okay, can I just,
analogy.
Yeah.
one last thing, okay, so I think we need to keep this in mind. Which Edward Forestry Service Road, there's a road base and a capping layer, and the capping layer is normally 3/4 miles. They do need to work on each year. I don't know what that number is, but we're probably talking about a couple of $1,000s each year to repay, keep this up repaired if we did it that way. And then in 10 years, there's maybe another, you've got to go back up another 6 inches down, and that's the kind of maintenance program that it requires to do it. That's what we're looking at versus the environmental impact that, and I can get my head around, you know, the asphalt, the bituminous part of it getting into the ground, and you know how much more it's going to come in. What bothers me is the other contaminants, the microplastics and the stuff and the rubber that's come off people's car tires that is now going into ditches, it's going into our forests. It's below our water intake, but it's going into our sound. So I really struggle with that. And we're talking about a couple of $1,000s a year, and then every 10 years, another 50 or 100. To me, I think we should be doing this. So anyway, that's my opinion. And I could take it to the Climate Action Committee. I'm almost positive they'll agree with me. I wouldn't, okay, to speak for someone, for a committee, they need to discuss it, but I think that's the answer you get.
All right, I work on projects where we often grade them, like Councillor Abbott saying. So if it needs grading yearly or every other year, I think the swales and the ditches are gonna help out, preventing the road washing out quite a bit. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that material up in our forest, so that's just my 2 cents. Any other comments?
My comment would be, it reminds me of my mother's childhood days when they recycled used engine oil to keep the dust down in the back lanes in the city of Vancouver, and we simply don't do that anymore, so it does smell. I agree. Like, I don't think we should be putting it into the forest. I like the recycling aspect, but yeah, it doesn't sit well.
Hey, any other comments? Councillor Brown?
Just again, on balance, I think it's a very, very challenging decision, but on balance, I think it makes some sense.
Okay. Ms. Blackwell, you don't need any direction on this, or Mr. Burr? Have you got a sense of the room?
I believe they're looking for direction and they're very.
Well, okay. I'll
The recommended
put a motion
resolution,
forward then.
the recommended resolution is council direct staff after considering the issue in the immediate access road report. So it doesn't recommend a resolution, it just asks for opinion.
Yeah, Mr. Blackwell.
So 2 things. I think council's sort of made its wishes clear. So I think enough said on that. The other piece is, I'm cognizant that it's 8:45.
Mhm.
And if you want to get through some of these weighty materials, you got to use your hurry up offense.
All right.
Okay, so I'll just finish off by saying we have $40,000 budget, which means we can do the grading this year. The civil work, the ditching, surfacing next year. I'm gonna need another $48,000. That's what it's gonna cost. Otherwise, we may not bother.
Put it on the budget list.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Okay, any items on the action log that councilors would like to pull out and discuss?
No, I think it's
None? Okay, we'll move to item 9.3, zoning development bylaw 520. The motion is that staff be directed to schedule a public hearing in accordance with section 466 of the Local Government Act. Do I have a motion for that?
So
Moved
moved.
by Councilor Brown, seconded. Do I have a seconder? Councilor Conlon seconded that motion. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, thank you for that. Item 9.4, zoning development bylaw 520. A motion is that staff be directed to schedule a public hearing in accordance with the section 466 of the Local Government Act. We have a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Broughton, seconded by Councilor McLaughlin. Discussion. All in favor?
Sorry, hang on, you're rushing a bit fast. We've got the wrong agenda. I've got some comments on that one. And by the way, you still haven't corrected the mistake I pointed out on the previous report. Please don't pass the zoning bylaw the way you've written it. You've got the wrong clause number there. Still there.
Okay, we're on
I'm
9.4.
going to 9.4. Please just give me a second here. Okay.
Any other councilors that would like to comment on this, please raise your hand.
Okay.
I'm gonna suggest that you have questions prepared in advance next
I
time.
do
maybe a
have,
separate
I
sheet.
do have questions prepared in advance.
Okay, well then, please move on.
Okay. I want to make sure that all the other councillors at the table understand, because when I asked someone about this, they didn't understand that we were talking about secondary suites in this bylaw, right? First refers to secondary, sorry, we are not talking about secondary suites in this bylaw. Secondary suites are excluded from short-term rentals, right? But what it does not discuss is cottages. And now we're using the term accessory dwelling units in all our other bylaws. And it's not used in this one. Well, that's using all the other stuff we've seen tonight, which includes cottages. So I think it needs to be updated and needs to be aligned to accommodate that.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell, any comments?
So the use of the term ADUs is sort of a more recent convention. So the first stab 15, 20 years ago was in relation, you've heard the references to secondary suites, and grannies, flats, and carriage houses. They're all sort of spoken about in these different ways, different types of residential units. They've been sort of consolidated as ADUs now, as one sort of typology represented by all of this, those items listed below. The zoning bylaw that needs to be updated, but some of the language is inherently problematic. Some of the language is sort of not current language, but it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation. The reason why this STR matters before council, as I've explained several times before, is that it's inherently problematic. It doesn't reflect let's say this. Alison Espavite walked the council through all of the sort of the deficiencies as she saw them. Some of those were inappropriately giving authority to CAO.
So can I save us some time, please? If I'm the only one that's got questions. We've heard all of this before, and I'm not arguing against it at all. So that we don't need to hear all again. I mean, council made up their minds. There's two things. Council agreed to remove the policy. It's still here. I guess we're removing the policy. Make sure we're clear on that. But my question is around people that have cottages in the village, and how are you going to manage that? And this policy says you cannot do secondary suites. Are you saying people with cottages will be allowed to use them as Airbnbs? Yes or no?
Mr. Blackwell.
In RS1 zones, cottages, as far as I can remember off the fly, cottages are not a permitted use in the village. There's a reference to cottages under RS1, but under a range of permitted uses, they're not permitted. So it's sort of conflicting.
So a person that owns a cottage cannot rent it out?
They can't have it.
Okay, well, we know there are cottages and they are rented out. The mayor has one and he rents it out. So is that not permitted or not? I have to call it out the way I see it.
Yeah, so with regard to the specifics, on the fly, I can't, because this has been in front of council for, I don't know, 6, 8 months. I can't remember that specific detail. I would have to get back to you, look through the details of the language and get back to you on that.
Okay, can you-
Councillor Conlon.
Do you want me to do that?
yes, I would like you to. do that.
The objective here is to bring this forward to public hearing. So all of these concerns, I'm sure, will be raised by those in the village who are very concerned about short-term use
Or not.
or not.
Question?
And just to let you know, that the mayor does not rent out his short-term use for his cottage. If it's called a cottage or boathouse, as I call
Okay, I was told it was on the
No.
short-term rental
it.
website.
No, it isn't.
Not anymore than I think.
It's not on it, never has been, not under my mayor's title, okay?
Okay,
Just as your wife is separate from you, as I understand, mine is as well. But it is not on any short-term service,
okay. Thank you. Thanks for the clarification.
okay?
Question?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Yes, yes.
Okay, next item is 9.5 draft subdivision. Motion is that first and second reading be granted to subdivision servicing bylaw number 651, 2025.
Question? So moved.
Okay, second.
Second.
I'm
Any discussion?
gonna ask you to give me a minute, because everyone's deleted things and things don't flow.
Okay.
Just give me 1 second.
Next
Or call the
meeting,
page.
next meeting,
Or
again,
call-
I'll suggest that you
I come
draw
to
up a
these-
separate
I come to
list
these,
of questions, and just
Not
let me
yet.
finish, please. I'll suggest you draw up a list of questions in advance,
I have a
and
list
you
of
move to
questions.
them, so that you don't delay the process. If there is a delay, I'm gonna call a question the next meeting around, we'll let you run
Can you
with it.
spend more time than I would take? I said a second, I was ready 10 minutes ago, or before you started to talk.
Okay, so next meeting, you understand that, you come with your questions, if there's a delay, we move on, thank you.
No, I do not understand that. Can you please stop ramming everything through? We come here to have a discussion.
We-
I want to talk to my
Orders-
fellow
orders
councillors
of the day.
and
Orders of the day.
Sorry,
Yes,
I'm gonna ask Mr. Blackwell to comment, and I'll ask some of the other councilors, because I don't want to
On a
be,
point of-
I don't want to be the person that's heavy here, but as chair, I have to keep the meeting moving along, okay? So that requires that we move from item to item, and we're all respectful of the time commitment.
Mayor Barry, if I may,
Councilor McLaughlin.
Councillor Abbott looks for his time. As I
I don't need
understood,
any more time.
I'm talking slowly. As I understood this, before we had our speaker today, I'm sorry, no, I stand corrected. I apologize, no,
Different item.
different item.
We're on, it's confusing, there's been
I
two
know.
agendas go, we're under draft subdivision servicing bylaw
Yeah, I know.
651, 2025.
And that's already received the motions, yes? Yes.
Councilor Abbott, did you have a question?
My question related once again to the early on the previous report. We have reports, it's a request, I guess. We have reports in here from the very first time we did the first reading. We don't have any minutes. We've discussed things that are meant to be unchanged. The reports come back unchanged. So before these things go to any town hall hearing, they need to be cleaned up. That's my request. Here, once again, we've got the same old report from weeks ago.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell, any comments? And what I would suggest, we talked about this before, councilors or mayor can go to outside of the council meeting and make suggestions. Okay, Councilor, or Mr. Blackwell, and I'll go to Councilor Brown.
Thank you. Yeah, staff does not redo the reports each time when the same matter comes before council. We just do not have the capacity to do so. So unless there's some substantive shift, we might just simply comment on any sort of modifications that council might wish to consider, but we certainly don't rewrite the report.
Hey, Councilor Brown?
If there are corrections, it would be picked up after the first and second reading, so I think we can move forward with the first and second reading.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, item number 9.6, garbage recycling collection bylaw 455. Motion is that council grant the second reading to the garbage and recycling collection bylaw number 455, 2013, amendment bylaw number 652, 2025. Do we have a motion for that? Moved by Councillor McLaughlin, second by Councillor Abbott. Discussion,
Discussion. Okay,
Councillor Abbott.
we've done 2 readings. In the motion, in the report says grant second and third readings, we don't have minutes. Am I correct? We've done 2 readings?
Mr. Blackwell.
As far as I have noted, council's done 1 reading. This is for consideration of second and third. While I'm speaking over to Councillor
Okay,
Abbott,
so
I'm wondering if Councillor Abbott had some
Yes,
proposed.
so in the last meeting, it was put forward for second and third. We said no, we just want to do second. Thank you, I'm getting nods around the tables. I'm correct. We did the second, we withdrew the third in the last meeting so that we could have a further discussion.
Yes, I remember
That is correct.
Can I just make a comment that it
Yeah,
would be
Councillor
helpful to
Conlon.
have minutes of the last several meetings? Then we would not be having these discussions because it would have been picked up on in the minutes.
Okay, Crystal, just to clarify, it is as written.
Second and third reading.
Okay,
As, sorry,
so the motion is to grant the second reading.
if I may, we granted the first reading on September 2nd.
Mhm.
On the 16th, we voted to have the second and third reading at the next meeting, which is tonight.
Okay,
And it was brought to my attention that there is special legislation that it can only be second reading, is that correct?
No, that's good, yes, but
So we're okay with
Yeah,
the
we're
second and
okay,
third?
yeah.
Okay, so I had put out the agenda for just second reading, but sounds like we can't do
Okay.
second and
So-
third.
okay. Well, we've passed a motion, or not passed, we've made a motion for the second reading. We can amend that at second and third reading. Do we have a motion for that? Okay, moved by Councillor McLaughlin, seconded by Councillor Abbott. Okay, discussion.
Yes. I certainly agree with the second reading and completely support the general intent of this bylaw and really appreciate the work that's gone on. I do believe that there's still work to be done. I think we have 3 issues. We have the bylaw report, which is yet to come up, is going to indicate that there's a questionable level of compliance with the bylaw, which to me would indicate that there's some issues within our community about acceptance of the bylaw. During a recent meeting, we had, I think, 4 or 5 letters from residents indicating their concern, and these were very respectful and thoughtful letters expressing their concern about the different timing of the collection. And there is an item which I have raised in the closed session, which I am not able to discuss. However, we have not yet discussed that matter, and I believe it has implications to this bylaw. And so I would suggest and fully support us moving ahead with second reading, which is what I believed was going to happen, and that we deal with the issues of the work that I believe needs to be done in order to bring this bylaw home.
Okay,
So I fully support second reading, but do not support second.
okay,
and
so we're
third.
gonna vote on the amendment first, then we'll go back. And I see
Sure.
Mr. Burr putting his hand up. He has something to add. Did you have
If I
something?
could just approach the chair. So this may have slipped between the cracks. I had alerted the CAO to the fact that the waste hauler is ambivalent as to whether we can provide bear cart pickup as well as regular pickup on a given street. The truck has to be either fully automated or not at all. Fully automated means they don't pick up anything else because of the way the receptacle works. This is a bigger issue that council will have to decide. Does everybody get 2 70-gallon bear carts so that it can be picked up semi-automated? Because I'll just remind you that Bearcott is too big to be picked up manually? Or do we not do the early put out in a Bearcott option? I would suggest that we're not quite at the point where we can consider that because we don't know what the waste hauler can do.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell, you have your hand up.
Just my suggestion to council, because of some of these moving pieces, is you may wish to consider second reading to keep this moving forward. But my recommendation is take this to committee of the whole and get resolution, get consensus on all outstanding items, so that when it comes back for third reading, council's all on board. We've had those discussions in committee of the whole.
Okay, I would be prepared to do second reading. I think given the information that Ms. Burr's given us, and also the, I know the public just can't do the late put up, especially people that are working and families, so I would be prepared for a second. I wouldn't support the third reading. Any other comments before we vote on the amendment for
Yes,
third reading? Yeah, Councillor Abbott.
Completely surprised by what you just told us, because it was completely news to us. Didn't see that coming. I don't quite understand what you mean by semi-automated vehicles. They use those already, but anyway, I'll have to take that to another discussion.
So if I may,
or-
it would be premature to do third reading, second would be fine. The issue is that they pick the garbage out of the big bear cans by hand. They delve into it and get it out and throw it in the back of the hopper. If they were going to be picking them up, heavy ones, with whatever it is, they need semi-automated. That's a lift gate that they strap on, they tip it in. But in order to do that, the truck needs to be converted. They are not yet certain that they can do combined. I'll also just remind you that we cannot find a smaller bear proof for the compostable stream. We're going to have to go with 2 70-gallon, one black, one green. Guess which one is which? But we're going to have 2. They will. The idea is that there will be the normal graduated pickup. You'll still have your time slots. You can choose to put out at that time in a non-Bearcott container. But if you wish to avail of the early put out, you must have a Bearcott. But now you must have 2. The only question is, can they pick it up? The people I'm dealing with are a little uncertain. I have a face-to-face meeting with the guy, a new guy. I'm an edit yet.
Okay, we'll call the question.
Sorry,
on the second and third reading.
I one of the, there's
Okay,
2 things.
Final
that was one
comment, and then
question.
we'll call the question.
Okay, so the other thing, we had a meeting, and the Basement group have always asked for the early pickup to start at 7 o'clock. We had a meeting a couple of weeks back, including the conservation officer, and the committee is still asking that we make the early pickup time 7 o'clock. And I'd like to propose that change. So that's in
Okay,
section.
we have an
11.
amendment, and we have a first, or a second and a third reading, we have an amendment, we're gonna call the question on those. And then we'll go back to the second reading, you can comment at that time, and then I'm gonna call the question. Okay, those in favor of a second and a third reading? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion defeated. Okay, back to the second reading, and one final comment, and we'll call the question. Okay, Councillor Abbott.
I would like to change section 711B when it says curbside placement of compostable waste and solid waste may be permitted after 7 AM on collection day.
Okay, before you move the motion, just my only comment on that is we're going to move this to committee of the whole. We're gonna flesh through a lot of these details. So if you are moving that and it's seconded, I'm not gonna be in favor of that for that reason. We are gonna flesh through these things. So any other comments, or is that a motion on the table?
Well, I guess we can deal with it then if that's what.
Is that a
you prefer
motion on
to.
the table?
I'll withdraw it.
Okay, all in favor of the second reading? Opposed,
Yeah.
motion carried. Okay, we'll move to item 9.7, and that is regional contact statements. And the motion is that staff be directed to schedule a public hearing for the proposed OCP amendment in accordance with section 466 of the Local Government Act. We have a motion for that.
Sorry, before we do
Okay,
that,
moved by Councillor Broughton, seconded Councillor Cunliffe, and we'll speak to the motion. Councillor Abbott.
sorry, I asked that we move item 10
10
point,
point, whatever, yeah.
7 to this time. so they could speak to that first, and that was agreed.
Sorry, which one was that?
It's the merged one, formerly 10.3.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. I think that fits the motion, doesn't it? 10.3, yeah. Okay, Councillor Abbott, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. So on item 10.3, council have seen this before. And I'm going to assume that everyone has actually read it. So I'm going to try to keep it fairly brief. I just wanted everyone to understand what we are obliged to do versus what we may choose to do. So Bill 44 requires that we address, there's a few things on, let me start again. Okay, Bill 44 does not apply to Lions Bay because we're under 5,000 people. If we already know that. If we go back to the earlier meeting in January, when we spoke about the fact that we're already allowed secondary suites, and the CIS's words are, we are golden, as the words are used. So we already comply with all the legislation that we need to do, right? There's also Bill 18, right, which amends the Local Government Act, and Bill 18 does two things. One, it suggests that we have to attach our housing needs report to our OCP, and it says we have to do that by resolution, which we have not yet done. We did not do it by resolution. We were told it was included because it was on the agenda, and that's not what the bill says. And I've mentioned this before. Additionally, we should also be keeping in mind Section 481 of the Local Government Act, which talks about SMUs in their legislation, and the language around us that these should not be happening in hazardous areas. So these are the contexts that I want to do, and that's why I sent everyone that report. These are the contexts that I think everyone needs to understand when they're looking at our regional context statement. Bearing in mind what Marcus Reuter said earlier as well, that we did address a lot of this in our 2022, RCS, at which stage we referred to the then draft Metro 2050. So a lot of that part has happened. So I just wanted to make sure everyone understood this, and that's why I sent all that information. And I wanted to just discuss that before we go to discussing the RCS item.
Okay, you have a motion on the table. I would just comment, this is a motion to schedule a public hearing to hear feedback from the public. I do not think that, or I think that's a good thing to have the public comment and give their input. So I don't have an issue with it, but perhaps a little more explanation from Mr. Blackwell would be in order.
Sure, thank you. I received an email from Metro Vancouver stating that there was a deadline to submit for an intent to provide a draft. The word I'm looking for. Regional context. So I sort of was dragging my feet around getting that done because of other issues that I think we're all aware of north of here, and so I was slow to respond. When I got around to it, I looked at the existing context statement, and I thought it's not really very well written. So what you see before you is my attempt just to reword what is already there. So there, in my mind, there's zero change. I have just reworded it. So I don't know what to say. So we've been asked to update it. There's no change as far as I'm concerned. These various bills have no effect on Lions Bay, but that doesn't mean we can't improve the language of the existing regional context statement, rather than leave it. It's not well read. I mean, it has lists of amenities that doesn't belong in a regional context statement. So if you read what I have written, you'll see that that's all that is. If council, in reviewing what I have suggested as changes, would prefer to see anything amended, that you don't like how I've interpreted the existing text and how I've reworded the existing text, let me know, and I can make those revisions. But from my perspective, I just simply, as I've said, took what was there, rewrote it so it reads better, and as an RCS should read. No change beyond that.
Okay, any other comments?
Yeah,
Councillor Abbott,
so-
and then
so-
Councillor Broughton.
That's what I can go first. this time.
Okay, Councillor Broughton.
Okay, I think it's showing good faith, it's showing our intention to cooperate with the greater goal of increasing the amount of housing. There certainly is there was interest when I went door to door during the election. There was interest in people creating cottages, for example, and to house themselves as they aged, to house their younger children and so on. And so I think that there is, and there's a shortage of housing, and there's residents of Lions Bay who are experiencing that. And we're trying to get housing for our fire department as our community is aging in place. There is a greater and greater requirement for care and support. And if people are going to be able to continue to live in Lions Bay, we're going to need resources here to support them. So the general intent that I see in our OCP and in the statement is an intention to cooperate, to act in good faith. I think we're not going to be able to overbuild because of the septic requirements that are going to be in place. And so as I said in my report regarding the UBCM, Lions Bay has recently drawn heavily on the UBCM, Metro Vancouver, and provincial resources. So it's important for Lions Bay. In the report, I said they have to have a strong presence at the UBCM. But in addition to that, I believe that we need to show that we are a team player within the province. Now, I think there's also a letter from Mayor Sager in our package, which identifies the tone of that to me is that people that while West Vancouver doesn't totally subscribe to everything that the province is doing, they definitely, or how they're doing it, they subscribe to the intent. And I certainly would agree with that. And I believe that's what we're doing with this report. And I think by having it reworded and by having it, I think it's clear, I think it's positive, and I think it indicates that it's current. So I would support it.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah.
Councillor Abbott.
Okay, so I struggle with everything Michael just said. Councillor Rogers came and pointed out to us. Ross, unfortunately, you did not take the version on our website. You took the 2015 version, not the 2022 version, which has already been proven centimetric. You used the wrong version to do your changes to. So that you need to go back and redo this and correct it. And I've gone and checked, it's accurate. I compared them line by line. The other concern I've got is there are statements in here that we cannot possibly put forward. We make the statement we intend to densify in Upper Brunswick Beach and Crystal Falls. Given what happened last year, are we really going to put that out in the public? We cannot go out. We've got to correct this. We also refer to ourselves as urban when we're rural. This is not ready to go to a public hearing.
Okay, do you have a question?
I'm just advising council, everyone needs to go read this carefully and notice what we've spoken about. And I would like us to be consistent with the use of the word densification. You know, we used densification in some places, we use the word intensification in another place. And context densification, that's language. But the really important thing is we cannot go out and suggest we are going to increase density in Crystal Falls after what happened. That's one of the things that hasn't
Okay,
happened.
Councillor Broughton?
Could I ask that we move forward to the public hearing with these concerns identified to the CAO and that they be considered and addressed?
Okay, any other comments? Okay, I would suggest that we move forward on the public hearing. I see no harm in involving the public. And I suggest that if you've got some nits that you'd like to correct or some wording, you go directly to Mr. Blackwell. So, okay, with that, I'll call a question.
Sorry, if I may, when we move to Councillor Abbott, I deleted the original mover and seconder, so if I could just have another mover and seconder.
Okay, who'd you have as a mover?
I deleted.
Okay, moving on this, I think it was Councillor Broughton.
I think I did.
Seconded. Councillor Cunliffe.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, items 9.8. Fees, bylaw number 4.
So moved.
9.7. Okay, we have a mover, do we have a second? Do we have a second on?
Yes.
Okay, Councillor McLaughlin seconded, discussion.
Question?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, item number, let's see, the Beach Park financials has been removed. We'll go to reports, 10.1, bylaw enforcement, 2025 peak season review. And with that, I'll ask Tosh to come forward and give us an overview. Thank you, Tosh.
I'll try to make this quick, as quick as possible. So this is the peak season bylaw enforcement summary for 2025. Peak season consisted of myself and 2 parking patrollers from May 1st to September 30th is what we're considering as the peak season here. Just going off of the stats, we had a total of 116 bylaw related complaints, which is an increase from the 69 we had last year, which is a clear increase there. And as well as for our parking patrol, we had a large increase in violations as well. We had we had 2,109 violation notices that were issued during these months, which is an increase of 557 from the previous year's peak season. Do keep in mind, the previous year we didn't have a bylaw department, but even given that, there's still a increase from last year. We also had a change of parking, a parking application being used. Last year we were using Flowbird, and this year we transitioned to pay by phone, which we found a lot better for us and as well as for users. And we had a large increase in revenue generated through our pay parking. And lastly, just an update on the forwarding of our outstanding parking violations. They've all been forwarded to collections. The total being 1,200 or 1,206. And they are now in the hands of our collections company. With that being said, I'll open the floor to any questions or comments.
Okay, Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bendrin. So as I understand the process, somebody gets ticketed, so say it's a parking offense. They pay the thing, get the discount, or they paid it full freight, either or. they say, geez, I'm not gonna write that check. We go through a process where internally, I guess we get this stuff from ICBC, block the plate number, give them a phone call or a gentle letter, give always $120. And that process, no matter how many there are, might take 45 days kind of thing, just guessing here. So internally, it stays for 45 days. And I believe that the deputy corporate officer does that work. Something I'm sure she looks forward to every day. And at the end of the 45 or 60 days, we say enough's enough, you've been warned, it goes to the collection agency. And we clear it from our books. And we just give it to them. And what do we get back out of it? And what's our success rate? And you don't have to be accurate, but close.
I don't have the numbers of our success rate with going to Wiggins. Keeping in mind, this is the first time that we've sent it to Wiggins during my time here. We did have this 1,200 is largely in part to outstanding from previous years as well. And with Wiggins, they do take, I want to say 30 to 40% of the outstanding amount. But outside of how successful we are, that's something I can reach out to Wiggins and get more clarification on.
Okay, so if I may, on this
Follow-up question.
string of questions, thank you very much. So fine, so we've cleared the house. I mean, the 1,206, the desk is cleared, the season's over, so deputy corporate officer can breathe a little quieter, and we just wait for the cash to come back. And by virtue of us giving it to them, we really have washed our hands. Anything that comes back is cash.
Yeah.
And so it's off our books completely. Okay, thank you very much.
Councilor Conlon?
What is, I know in the city of Vancouver, if you were to get a parking fine, when you go to renew your ICBC, your insurance, you have to pay the fine. What is the likelihood or probability of us being able to set ourselves up for something like that?
That might be something that, again, I would have to ask Wiggins to, ask Wiggins what they do, what their steps are. As far as on our end, the only thing we do is we send it off to Wiggins. I'm not sure what tools they use to kind of, to collect. Yeah, but I have heard in the past that municipalities will forward it to ICBC, and at that point, you're kind of forced because everyone will renew their insurance or driver's license, whatever it might be.
So you're not sure how the process.
Yeah.
So that would be maybe a request to staff to look into what that would.
Yeah, because for us, we hand it off to Wiggins and we let them do their thing and kind of.
They're relentless.
Yeah.
Councilor Brown?
Is that parking tickets as well as other infractions? I wasn't aware that we could use ICBC for collections.
Yeah, so again, I'm not 100% sure what Wiggins does.
Okay.
But I'd assume parking violations that are given by a municipality can go that route. And I'm also aware that third-party parking companies, such as Diamond Parking, when you go to say an underground parking lot and you get a ticket through a third-party company like Diamond Parking, that does not go to ICBC.
No.
But I believe
Boot on your car.
Yeah, that they can do. But I believe with when you get parking violation through a municipality, that we do have the ability to go that route.
I'd be interested in hearing those numbers that Mr. Councilor McLaughlin was requesting. Because also, if they have some comparisons with other municipalities that they are collecting on behalf of, and just wondering what their success rate is. And, you know, is the level of a ticket $200 versus 100? Does that change the success rate? That'd be interesting if there was some data on that. Yeah, Councilor Brown?
I believe we've committed to relooking at our fine structure. Did we not? Did we not see?
I think we admitted to having a report done up, which I think could encompass all these questions. Yeah.
Thank you. I put forward and the CEO concurred, waited because we've got a lot going right now. a more fulsome parking plan, which include enforcement, collection, and making spaces available and reviewing the structure too. So I think I was giving staff, I've only come back from a holiday recently, and I didn't want to give them the first 5 resolutions right off the bat. So I think that it's something that I will put forward in the next meeting for RCM with probably a January target for it to come back so that we can involve the community on a greater parking and tourist issue. And I think the rest just comes back by default. And I think the CAO said he's interested in doing that.
We may want to check, because I think we might have a resolution on that, but if we don't, definitely put it forward.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just a reminder to council, in theory, you have a strategic priority session coming up.
Mm.
If council chooses to endorse that proposed committee of the whole, and you can also have preliminary discussions around ranking those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
One other question, animal control, I see those are the top of the complaints. What's the description of that?
So when it comes to animal control, the complaints we usually get range from excessive barking, a loose dog, a dog at the beach. Yeah.
So it's kind of all over.
Yeah, kind of, we just,
Dogs,
animal control as
yeah. Okay, thanks. Councillor Abbott and then Councillor Brown.
Just want to comment on, the comment was made earlier about the number of violations have gone up. It's not quite apples to apples, because last year you didn't have any violent enforcement in May, you had more violent enforcement in September. So that statement of the rise of 550 is probably less than, it's around 200 really, not 5. So it's 10% or so more. Not a dramatic increase. I think behaviour is probably largely unchanged, I would think, or within 10%. It's fair, nodding your head.
Okay, Councillor Broughton, and then we'll let Taj.
Yeah, just very, very quickly, it's probably not specifically a bylaw issue, but the parking passes that were provided in a way that the other ones didn't expire until well into the summer. And I think there's a perception that some of those passes move to other authorized vehicles. So I think we might want to look at the timing of when the parking passes are distributed. In the past, I think they've been distributed with the utilities bill, which I think happened this year, but they expired before the summer began. So I think that would cause a bit of an issue.
I've heard exactly the same statement from someone different, that people were actually selling the overlap.
Yeah.
For the 2 months.
Couple of
And
months.
using them. Yeah. Oh, you think that happened?
Yeah, if I may. Yeah, that is something we have noticed with parking or with resident stickers. They expire on July 31st, and I believe they're given out either, I want to say March or April. So they do have a few months. This year in particular, we had over 60 courtesy notices given to residents that still had the 2024 stickers on. Yeah, so there's over 60 vehicles that were given courtesy notices with them being residents. Not sure how many of them were actually residents. Yeah. But again, that's not something we can kind of, yeah.
It's just a timing thing. It's
Okay,
not your.
Taj, thank you very much for all that feedback. Okay.
Thank you.
Next we'll move to item 10.1.3 municipal annual report. Mr. Blackwell, it's for information only. Any comments? No comments? Okay, any questions for Mr. Blackwell? No, okay. We'll move to 10.1.4, tree application 134, 340 Ocean View Road. The motion is that council approve the tree cutting permit application number 134, subject to the following conditions, and that is A, B, C, D, E, F, and G in your agenda.
So moved.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Abbott, and discussion.
I have a question. When I was looking at this earlier, this staff have asked for a survey of some of the trees. normally we get a table that says how many complaints there were, but why is the survey necessary? What drove that, and were there any complaints? Because we didn't get that table.
Mr. Blackwell.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a question as to location of these trees relative to the property line. It's hard to tell. So if they're on private property, it's a different situation if they're on public property than if they're on public property. So purpose of that is to determine.
Phrase my question again. So the tree committee recommended removal of the trees. If it's on private property, who cares? It's coming down anyway. If it's on village property, you've got a recommendation for removal. So who cares? Unless there's someone complaining the trees are on someone else's property. That's not explained. There's just a suggestion that we should have a survey. Is it based on someone making a complaint, or is it you're just asking to spend additional money for no reason?
Thank you. I don't know if Mr. Burr has any knowledge of this issue, but I'm not up to speed with the details as I wasn't here for this. Or
If I can just familiarize myself with this application, I know it, I just don't remember the detail. What page is it?
Page 340.
340. So specifically, Carl, there's a statement here, the works, staff, public works, have asked that some of the trees that may or may not be on municipal property are surveyed.
Yeah, so you're exactly correct that if it's on private, that's their business whether they remove it or not. If it happens to be public and the tree committee has said go ahead, that's fine too. So this particular one,
Across on the neighbors across the street.
it was going to be, the issue was going to be whose tree was it? If it was between neighbors, and the suggestion was the neighbor needed to prove that it was their private tree. If it was public, we were fine with them taking it out. If it was their private tree, they needed to establish that with the neighbor.
So, sorry, the applicant needs to prove, not the neighbor doesn't have to incur the cost of the survey.
Unless the neighbor wants the tree and the applicant wants it down.
Right,
And they have to prove ownership.
that would be the only circumstance.
Yeah.
Is that what's going on?
So the recommendation was to the applicant to get a survey to prove it was theirs, if it was private.
Okay, so there was a complaint, someone argued the tree was theirs.
Yeah. Or potentially theirs.
Yeah.
So they needed to prove it was theirs if they took it down and it was private. If it was public, we were fine with it.
So we are approving a conditional, is that good practice? Is that what we want to do here?
No, I think you approved the removal of public trees. The private trees are their own business. If they turn out to have been private. And it's in their own interest to prove where they sit. We see that a lot.
But the recommendation says we need to get a survey.
Says that a legal survey should be provided to the municipality confirming ownership of the subject trees.
Yeah, I didn't see that part. I think you could strike that in your resolution.
Mr. Blackwell.
So Shauna and I spoke about this a week or so ago. I can't remember the details. But there was a question over ownership. If there is no question of ownership, a legal survey won't be necessary. If there is, which I understood there was, then we can't authorize removal of trees that without that confirmation. So if it's not needed, we won't utilize it. If it is needed, it's in the approval.
But it is a private issue.
It's a private
We
issue.
don't get involved.
It's nothing to do with us.
Yeah, we can, so I would suggest we remove the issue around the survey. That's moot as far as we're concerned. We're fine with them taking out public trees.
Well, if we're in doubt, we can't authorize them to take them down. That's the problem, I guess. Okay,
So if we think it's public, a public tree, and it's not, then we've assumed the liability, so.
No, it's up to them. We have told them that they need to satisfy themselves that it's not belonging to the neighbor. If it belongs to them, go ahead.
If it belongs to the neighbor takes it up with them.
we've
after
got two
that.
different staff directions here.
So in order to not issue a permit to cut down trees on somebody else's property, they have to confirm that the permit's legitimate. In other words, we're not authorizing a question mark. If they decide it is on private property, then that's a negotiation with the property owners. But we're not authorizing them just to go ahead and cut down the neighbor's tree just because they have a permit.
So do they have to come back to you? Is this a two-step, then they have to come back to you,
Demonstrate that it's, that,
fulfilling these conditions?
whose tree it is, and then in other words, what is important here is that this should council choose to issue this permit, that it can't be perceived as carte blanche to cut down the trees. They have to make sure that they're cutting the trees that they have authority to cut down, which do not include trees on other people's property.
Yeah, it's a nicety. We never issue a permit to cut private trees. We only issue public tree cutting permit. They can go ahead. If it turns out to have not been public and their neighbors, that's their problem. They need to have satisfied themselves whose tree it is. So this is more a recommendation to them. It's a nicety. Do we provide carte blanche to just go ahead and cut the trees and then get blamed for allowing the cutting of private trees? No. We don't authorize the cutting of private trees. But in an abundance of caution, it might be a good idea to insist on a survey first.
The purpose is to ensure that if there's any suing going on, that no one can say, well, look, I have a permit, so I can cut these down.
All right, there's conditions. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Move to, sorry.
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Carl. We'll move to 10.1.5 volunteer application luncheon. The recommendation is, the motion is that council direct staff to organize a volunteer appreciation event toward the end of the year, and that funding for the event be allocated from the council funded events budget. Do we have a motion for that?
I would actually like to make a friendly amendment to this motion and suggest that I take upon this activity as previous council. That was my role. I put together several well-attended volunteer appreciation events, and from my experience, it would be much more suited to an evening opportunity for those who work during the day to actually attend. So I would be happy to take that off staff's plate, but I was actually going to bring something to the last meeting that we had in September, and I didn't get around to it. So thank you for putting that forward, and if I could get support, I would put a motion forward that I undertake such an event.
Any issue with that?
Second that.
Yeah.
Question?
Thank you. No issue. You may want to be more specific. Tell me if this captures what you're trying to convey here through resolution.
If we could look at what the budget was from the previous events, this one will take the guesswork out of whether we're having it at the beach or the hall, depending on the rain, so we'll only have to take out one liquor license. But I would say that it's pretty much captures the, do we need a motion in place for that? If there's already allocated budget?
Blackwell.
It would be wise because there's a spend associated
Yeah,
with it.
okay.
It's just tweaking the language that council authorized. Council to come,
Yeah,
et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, do we have a motion for that? A motion to authorize Councilor Cunliffe.
Yes.
Okay, moved by Councilor Abbott, seconded by Councilor Broughton. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
I'll bring more information with some dates.
That's great.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to the approval of financial statements 2024. Motion that council will approve the 2024 financial statements as presented. We have a motion.
So
Moved
moved.
by Councilor Broughton, seconded by Councilor Abbott.
Okay, sorry, I have my notes. We struck that one. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, that was the detailed draft budget.
Okay.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, I'll second that. Discussion? Okay, Councilor McLaughlin.
Thank you very much, Mayor Berry. It's a comment on 2024, and to be candid, my area of greatest concern with our council and administration is financial oversight. Compared to the previous council and administration, legal fees, audit fees, wasted beach park costs, and significantly higher personnel costs, the latter to be even higher in 2025, appear out of control. I'm unable to participate in the continuum of year-over-year excessive spending. Cost reductions need to be starting now, not after the next general election. At the pending committee of the whole budget discussions for the balance of the month, I'll be asking staff to reduce our expenses in all areas very significantly. Thank you, sir.
Great. Any other comments?
Post a comment,
Okay, Councillor.
post a comment on that. I think we also need to understand the impact of delayed QP negotiations and potential impact of future QP negotiations. Now these numbers seem year on year to be potentially misaligned, but there's no arguing the increases are eye-opening. So yeah, I'd be very supportive of that, but let's make sure we have some level of granularity of the causes for these overruns. We know some of them are just higher salaries, those are obviously in the report, but what else is in there?
Okay, I would agree with that. I think the expenditures have been excessive in many areas, and I think we need to look at that and get that under control. So I'm very much in favor of that review. Mr. Blackwell, you had your hand up?
I was just gonna remind council that of previous comments about the need for council to sit down to have, probably in a series of discussions, to discuss how to move the municipality to a more sustainable financial footing. Can't do everything. Can't keep doing the same things the same way and hope to maintain the budgets. So what's critical is to take the time to sit down and work through all these moving pieces. The hard part will be trade-offs, but in the absence of a structured approach for council to discuss the concept of moving to sustainable financial footing, it's going to be hard to deal with it, but with these costs on an ad hoc basis.
Okay, any other comments? All right, all in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Okay, 10.1.8, proposed important work of council calendar. With that, Mr. Blackwell, any comments?
Thank you.
That's on 421.
Yeah, I'm almost there with you. So this is just simply to earmark some spaces. What page is it on? I'm sorry.
421.
Thank you. So there's a big chunk of work primarily for October. And a whole bunch of things that need to be addressed in a time sensitive way. You'll know things like public hearings and so on and so forth. Budget topics is a very work every month this month. So we're seeking endorsement for these committee of the whole meetings. If these, and this is sort of our best guess as to what might be in council, but I don't think we're going to be able to get the work done and reduce the number. But if council wants to reshuffle them around to different days, we need that feedback so we can finalize a calendar, so we can map out the work to be done.
All right, we'll go around the table. Councilor Thomas, you have your hand up.
I can say that I am unavailable this coming Thursday. I have a commitment. And for the public hearing on the 30th, the night before Halloween, I would suggest that's not the best day for residents who are doing preparations, getting ready for their kids. I know I was up till 3 a.m. sewing costumes the night before Halloween regularly. So I'm just gonna say that's probably not the best time. Maybe push that one into the first week of September.
Okay, Councilor Abbott, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I agree on the night before Halloween thing, by the way.
Okay,
So
any other
I've
comments?
got one other comment. I am unavailable. I have to do a business trip the week of the 13th to the 16th.
Any other comments?
Well, the committee, the special council meeting for the CR review is problematic there. as we've discussed, I think everyone needs to be able to attend it, so I'm asking that one get moved to a more suitable date.
Yeah.
Week dates will work for me.
So I have to pull the Band-Aid off on this. So staff is having an extremely hard time getting feedback on trying to coordinate meetings. We're just not getting it, and meetings never seem to happen. So this is our last ditch attempt to try to nail council down to meetings. Not all the councils can be able to attend meetings. It's just gonna have to be the way it is, because if it's gonna have to be all 5 people are here, we're never gonna have meetings. So I'm less concerned about what works in terms of days. As long as we have days in October that can accommodate all this stuff. I'm a little bit concerned about too much bleeding into November. Because you don't have a small November agenda either. So saying days, this day doesn't work for this person and that day doesn't work for another, doesn't give us any help. We need decisions on, so I would say the one for the 9th, decision, yes, no. The 15th, yes, no, etc. Because otherwise we just keep spinning our wheels around things that don't work.
I can do the 9th. Anyone do the 9th? Anyone else?
The 9th's the day after tomorrow, yeah.
Anyone do the 9th? We have 3 hands up. Okay,
Do we need,
book the 9th then, we have 3. That's a quorum.
Accept my formal regrets, please.
Okay, what's the next one? The CAO review, 15th. I may be traveling then, but I would log in, so.
I'm traveling
book
to a remote,
15th.
I'm traveling to a remote mine site, I can't
Yeah,
do it tomorrow.
okay, that would be what times? So if it's 6 or 7, that's 6 is probably good for me. I'll be back east if that happens.
We will point one more time to everyone, we've always, I've said we want everyone to attend that meeting. I cannot do that, I'd like it to be moved to the 22nd.
Okay,
It's your preference
22nd.
to have that in.
how's the 22nd for a CAO review? Okay, hands up, show of hands, 22nd.
I don't know, I didn't, I checked these work for me, and I presume 22nd's okay.
Okay, what's the 22nd then? For a CAO review. What other date are you looking for?
Budget meeting on the 16th.
I'm good.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, okay, that's good too.
Actually, to nip to the point here, I'm good with all of these. I think, other than the 30th, I get the Halloween thing, so.
Yeah, I agree.
Can that go to the 28th?
Could we push it into the first week of November? Because this is for parents of which we have had many more younger families move into the village. That week leading up to Halloween is worse than the week leading up to Christmas. For activities and school events and pumpkin patches, and I do not think that it's the best time.
Thursday is November 6th. There's a problem with that, Ross?
So we moved an IC meeting. Crystal? So we moved the IC meeting because it landed on Remembrance Day, and I think we moved it to the 6th.
We moved it to the 6th.
Yeah.
I'd have to look, but
So
5th.
5th,
Is that the Wednesday?
yeah.
That shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. Anything else?
The other one was your strategic planning workshop on the 29th.
29th, show of hands.
Regrettably, it's my birthday that day,
Oh,
and
okay.
I'll be hosting an event.
28th?
Why don't we do 28th?
Could do the 28th.
Not a meeting.
Could we do it at your house?
You know,
28th.
No, the 28th is going to be the CAC meeting, isn't it?
Okay,
Oh, no, sorry, would it be, sorry,
it might be.
no, I don't think so. This one's in, I'll be check.
If I may, yes, the climate action committee is on the 28th.
Is it a pressing agenda?
Yes, we haven't had comments.
What time's your CAC? Can you do it afterwards or? Time are we doing the special, the
Strategic planning,
strategic at
this
the,
is a long meeting, isn't it?
As early as possible.
can we do 4 o'clock?
I cannot commit to 4 o'clock. I could call in maybe, but I wouldn't be here in person until probably closer to 6. I could call in at, 4:30. Yeah, I cannot commit to being here by 4.
I don't think that's a meeting, you have another meeting on this.
How long is your CACs?
If this is the strategic planning workshop, it's gonna be a long meeting. CACs is, we had an hour and a half, 2 hours typically, at most, sometimes only an hour.
Remember,
But it's still a long, it's still gonna be a long night.
Chair, if you could, sort of switch those days. CAC
Can you move the CAC to Monday?
to the 29th, and then this,
Or
special
29th?
meeting to the 28th.
That's a long time away. Can you move that to 29th?
Just looking, you wanna just send it to everyone?
And then, so we go to 28th for this strategy. Yeah. Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, guys.
Okay,
Sorry.
you don't have anything other
One
than
last suggestion on that, I know, 30th of that's element.
November, we only have the 6th. Anything else you needed on there?
We're not there,
Or-
but I would expect there to be a bunch of,
All right,
budget meetings on the Thursdays, it's just so we can get it done by December.
so I would suggest send out invites so that we just put them right into our calendar. Yeah,
One thing that's not on here is, First Nations training session.
It's in the afternoon, 12
It's
till
in the
4.
afternoon, yeah.
Right. Do you recall when that is?
23rd,
23rd and
29th.
29th.
If I may put a note at the top of the calendar, it's kind of tiny, so you might miss it. I didn't have the time in there, but.
just wondering if we
Read
can
at
do
the
a
very-
talking stick.
Yeah, it does. It says up at the top, yeah.
Kind of like a mirror staff of authority.
Yeah, right.
I have one.
So that's 12 to 4 on the 23rd, 29th.
Okay, running short of time, can we, Magnesia Creek Road, we've done that.
So, Deputy Corporate Officer, you're gonna do the invite thing, thank you.
Committee Board of Variance. Any comments on Board of Variance minutes?
I have none, this is to do with the,
Okay, yes, yeah, good enough. Any questions on that? No? Okay, Union of BC Municipalities, post-conference report by Councillor Abbott. Councillor Abbott, over to you. And we've got 8 minutes till 10 o'clock. And we'll
Why don't we just make them all received for information?
Okay,
Trust people will read it.
sounds good. I've read it. Everyone else had a chance to read it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you for attending.
hold on, weren't those, there were 2 items that.
Yeah, I've got them. They're not up yet. Union of BC Municipalities, report from Councillor Broughton. Councillor Broughton,
As read, yeah.
okay.
It's there and,
Thank you for that. We have 2 items. One is the Aaron Moore, and this is the, this is Councillor Broughton's request. Councillor Broughton, I'll pass it over to you.
Okay, there was a fundraiser several years ago, and I was asked to look up the video for that and provide that to council Sunday with it coming against you Monday morning. I don't know if you've probably seen it in the past anyway. There was a fundraiser, and $28,000 was raised, and to honor Aaron Moore. So clearly the expectation is that the playground area will be named for Aaron. And so I just want to make sure that there wasn't any slippage on that, because there has been, multiple responsibilities for the park. It has been raised with the architect, but I haven't heard anything more about that. So we just want to make sure that honoring occurs. I certainly would be prepared to have a discussion whatever we're thinking of, I would have the discussion with the Moores. And we can move from there, but I just wanted to, I put it on the agenda in order for it to not slip aside. It's become front of mind as the beach park is moving ahead and the budget numbers are being presented, and you know, there is 28,000 showing there as the fundraising, and so we want to make sure that that's recognized, acknowledged, and dealt with.
Councillor Conlon had her hand up and Councillor.
I was actually going to take note that in the budget, it says fundraising. It doesn't say fundraising for the Aaron Moore Memorial Playground, and that line item needs to be changed. It was discussed with the architect, I recall, but the message needs to be reiterated, obviously, but if we could see it reflected in the budget, so when the residents look at that, those that did contribute to that and were there and do have an expectation, see that it hasn't fallen by the way.
Okay, Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you very much. In the past, council, a resolution was put forward to actually name it the Aaron Moore Memorial Playground, and I would expect that to occur.
Okay, Mr. Bacco, you had your hand up.
I was gonna ask that question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so we'll just follow up, or perhaps you can report back to us.
I don't think so.
So, I can speak on it, I don't know what the concern is, there's a resolution.
I think we're just, everyone wants to make sure it doesn't
Yeah.
get dropped.
Doesn't get
It's-
dropped.
that's all.
Process.
I think we're done.
So the question is, do you want signage, and not for tonight, but the question will be, how do you want it signed, et cetera, et cetera.
Let's see what it looks like first.
There's a long way to go before there.
I'm patient.
Okay, the next item is, I do have to take it somewhere.
3.5.
Yes, oh, there it is, Councillor Abbott, 10.3.5.
Okay, so you can all scratch the close at the top of the attachment that I gave you, it's an open. As per our earlier discussion. I'm assuming everyone will remember that back in July, it was agreed that I would be going to the UBCM and attach the staff report from that meeting. And we discussed costs and ferries and hotels and all that kind of stuff then. It was pretty clear that I was doing it. I was going alone. We also then discussed whether the CAO would be going, and we agreed that if there was to be a ministerial meeting, he would come and join me. And that was in the minutes, extract from the minutes of July 22nd. To my surprise, without being made aware at all, Councillor Broughton was on the ferry, the same ferry as me that morning, and sent me a text which I attached here, without me asking, explaining that he was there to stand in for the mayor, which to my knowledge was not going, and that the CEO had asked him to do this. And I asked if council had been informed, and was told no. Subsequently, there was a meeting that I think was a really important meeting about the transit corridor and the train that we should have gone to, and we hadn't received an invite to, although I was told we had. And then I was told the invite went to the mayor only. And then Councillor Broughton replied to me by email that the mayor had sent him 10 emails about the UBCM. And I've asked to see those emails several times, and has been refused every time. So based on the meeting, discussion we had earlier, there's been a refused, Ken's refused to send me 3 times, that's for anyway. So my question is, in cognizance of the discussion we had earlier about procedures and processes around allowing for fairness, and if you're taking actions. I guess what I took from that meeting is that the motion that I had, that council directs staff to take appropriate measures to recover unauthorized costs that occurred at the UBCM, I guess, is inappropriate. From what I understood, unless council decide that they want to take action and then go through the procedure, the procedure that's been described. I would still like to understand why I wasn't informed of these meetings, and I'd still like to understand who approved the additional expense, because at council, it was clear it was not done by council.
Okay, Councillor Bowden?
I think probably my report outlines some of the background here, but I think it's quite important to understand the context here. I understood that the mayor was in fact attending the UBCM. Apparently I was in error. There was quite a number of issues going on at the July 22nd meeting, as council will recall, most of it in closed session. I believe the mayor was attending when it became clear that he wasn't, the week before. I'm sorry.
Can I have a motion to extend the meeting? It's 10:01.
15 minutes.
Moved by
Okay.
Councillor Abbott, second by Councillor McLaughlin. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, motion carried. Sorry, Councillor Bowden.
My understanding was that the mayor and Councillor Abbott were attending the conference, the UBCM. At the end of the Tuesday meeting, as I recall, our CAO expressed serious concern that the village would be needed to have a strong representation at the UBCM. And I can say that certainly Councillor Abbott was a very strong representative there, but in light of all the drawing on of the UBCM, the Metro Vancouver and provincial resources, it was pretty important that we have a presence there. As a result, in the discussion, I was committed the following week. It took me 2 days to reorganize my calendar, and I committed to the village to attend the UBCM to the extent that I could, to represent the interests of the village. And so there was a hotel put together for me at the last minute. So I stayed at the Quality Inn in Blanchard Street, and attended as many sessions as I could in the time that I had available. I've prepared a report, and my understanding was the CAO was very not only supportive, but as I recall, requested that I attend if that was possible. It took me 2 days to clear that I could do so. And then at which point the arrangements were made. The mayor asked me to attend in the best interest of the community. Councillor McLaughlin, I'm sure, would have been quite interested in attending. However, he was in France at the time. And Councillor Cunliffe, I didn't presume would be available during that time. So anyway, I was honored to attend and represent the community. I think I made very significant contacts, and I find it's very unfortunate that this is being questioned in any way. So I'm quite concerned about it, actually.
All right, I'll add.
If I could just one.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Oh,
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay, fine, go ahead.
Oh,
That's fine.
I had discussions with the CEO. There was nothing untoward in this approach. I think the intention here was to have the community represented as fully as possible. The mayor, of course, almost always attends these type of events. I would have attended, however, I had business commitments. And that happens to all of us from time to time. But in lieu of that, my alternate for Metro is Councillor Broughton. So I suggested Councillor Broughton fill in. Any emails, I just quickly went through and blasted them to Councillor Broughton. There was no intention to exclude you. But Councillor Broughton has always been my alternate. And in fact, the emails that you referenced, they're all addressed to the mayor. So your request was quite aggressive to forward emails and quite frankly, emails to the mayor. I don't feel obligated to forward them to anyone unless there's something that the rest of the council can assist on and help on. But you know, personal emails to the mayor are my emails. So, but there was nothing untoward on this. So I think representation, we had 2 representatives there, yourself, Councillor Abbott, Councillor Broughton. And it sounds like both of you did a good job. Well, I shouldn't exclude, we had the CAO there as well. And I'm sure we probably could have used more help. So, yeah, Councillor Abbott.
Okay, before we hear from the other 2 councillors, who I'd hope to hear an opinion from, just a couple of points. Councillor Broughton attended 2 days of the 5 days. So wouldn't actually even have been there had we got to a vote on the floor. If there was nothing untoward about the emails and knew I was going, why would you not have sent them to me as well? I get your stance that you believe they're private emails for you, but if you're going to send them to one councillor who's going, why wouldn't you send it to the other one? And I guess you still refuse to send them to me. And had I not bumped into the MLA staff in the corridor and he asked me why I was walking the wrong way, we wouldn't have had anyone representing us at a very important meeting. So I'm going to leave it at that. But also to the point is, we sat in the meeting, it was months ago, it was in July, we agreed to a budget, we agreed he was going. There was ample opportunity for Councillor Broughton or yourself to suggest that another person goes. It never happened. And you know, to surprise someone comes walking down the ferry past me. I just think that's unacceptable. A minimum of a courtesy I could have been told, or preferably council should have been asked. But I'd like to hear from the other 2 councillors. I'm done.
Okay, just in terms of, like I said, there's nothing untoward done towards that. You've participated in the House Sound Biosphere, and I was never aware of the times that this last event that I think both you and Councillor Broughton attended, there was no notice that you were attending. That didn't bother me. That's great. You're representing the community. No harm done.
It's a budget mistake. They didn't cost any money. We approved the budget for one.
Right, but at the same time, in the past, you have had issues with your work commitments and not been able to attend other meetings. So as I say, there's nothing untoward about this. If we want to go around the table and really start to, you know, get off track, I think the business of the community is what's important here, and we can focus on that. But I'll hear from the other councillors, Councillor Broughton, and then we'll go around. And
just a point of information. The representatives on the House on Community Forum are the mayor and me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually quite surprised as well when Councillor Abbott met him on the ferry to Bowen Island on Friday. So I'm not clear, and I take no exception to him being there.
Let me just say,
however, I mean,
and I'm sure you didn't mind that you know, he's representing the community. We're all on board on that. So.
Sorry,
Yeah.
there's no such thing as representative council on the House on Forum. We are all invited and encouraged to go.
I could speak to
I
that.
give
on
personal
that,
invites
council.
to it, so do we all. There's no representative, there's no role that we decided you and the mayor get to do it. Yes, you went to the first few, but I was too busy working, but we're all invited and encouraged to go.
Yes, we are all invited.
And encouraged.
And we agreed in the early part of this term to take on various portfolios. For example, I took on the First Nations portfolio. And as I recall, you took on Bear Smart and various other.
There was no
external
agreement that
portfolios.
those two represent House and Community Forum. That is not
That's
true.
that's
End of
not
story.
correct. That's not
Okay,
correct.
please raise your hand if you'd like to speak. We haven't heard from Councillor Cunliffe or Councillor McLaughlin. Councillor Cunliffe?
I agree that anybody is welcome at the House Sound Forum. Ruth makes that very clear every time she comes to council. The issue here is budget. We only did approve one budget for one representative. That could have been adjusted at any time. There could have been notification, even if it was just by email. So in the future, I think we just need to cross our Ts and dot our Is a little more clearly, so we don't have any sort of contention here. I agree that more representation by the community is going to be important. We just need to follow the due process.
Okay, Councillor McLaughlin?
Not to reiterate in as many words, I concur with Councillor Cunliffe.
Okay. Good. Any other comments?
I will still put a motion forward that staff give us a breakdown of all the costs for the UBCM who attended and what it cost. Can I get a second for that?
I think we're going to probably dive into that in the budget.
Why doesn't staff just email them?
Okay. All right, you can give us a breakdown of that. Thank you. Okay, we're down
Motion
to
to
our last
close.
4 minutes.
Motion to close.
I think we
Actually,
are-
correspondence is left.
Correspondent public
Yeah, okay.
participation.
Trying to get out of my.
We've got 4 minutes and then the meeting is technically over. So any comments, questions on correspondence?
I'll take care of it, everybody, but copy.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Broughton?
Could I just mention, we had a letter today or yesterday regarding piano lessons, and the
nice.
resident was quite concerned about his daughter practicing her
Great
piano.
letter.
Yeah, great.
So anyway, if that could be
Okay, any
addressed.
other-
Yeah, I've got one item of correspondence. The last item on the correspondence was an email from Resident Banter.
Yeah.
Can we ask that be considered in the next go round of the Bible Reflection Bible? Seems like a reasonable request. I didn't know it was an issue.
I thought it was in there. I was reading, I thought I'd read that in the bylaw before, but I
Yeah.
don't.
I'm not sure why anyone would choose to put the garbage outside the neighbor's house, but seemingly it is an issue, so I think it would be a reasonable request to put it in there.
Okay, motion to close the meeting.
Public participation.
Oh,
Excuse me, with regard to that matter, you know, I think we need to look carefully that, I mean, we've got driveways that cross in front of other people's property and all this kind of stuff. I think we're just creating what is the issue that we're trying to, I think we're gonna create more problems than create solutions here.
okay, good point. Okay, we've got 2 minutes, public participation. Anyone online? Okay.
Norm.
Okay, Mr. Barmier?
Good evening,
Yeah,
Council.
last 2 minutes, and then we wrapped up.
Thanks. I'll try to make it quick. I just want to touch on Metrovan's housing challenges that continue into 2025. You know, it's driving people to leave due to unaffordability and low rental vacancies. You know, as a long-term resident and a nature lover, who honors our commitment to the OCP and protecting our natural setting, and as a former councillor, I see value in items 9.7 and 10.3.1 on the regional context statement and the official community plan amendments. I certainly support adding 1 or 2 units inside existing single-family homes, like secondary suites or accessory dwellings, as long as they fit the lot's, you know, water and septic limits and provide adequate off-street parking. This does meet, and as gives good community members overall, you know, greater context of our community, it does meet Bill 44's small-scale housing rules, and our OCP focus on rural characteristics. It respects our natural setting, And it respects our limited development wishes as per the 2022 OCP amendments. It respects our hazardous setting, and it also addresses the 2021 housing needs report. So it also fits within Metro 2050's growth outside the urban containment boundary. So I honestly think this type of infill could help with affordability and rentals while keeping our rural and natural qualities intact. And I certainly urge council to have an open ear and listen to the community's wishes on this subject. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Don.
That's
Okay.
great, Mark. Thank you.
All right, motion to close the meeting. Okay, second, all in favor?
Yeah.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank
Sorry,
you.
who seconded that?
That was.
Take a
Councilor McLaughlin.
Put our names in a hat.
Everyone's hand went up at the same time.
Yeah.
You want to walk through your concern?